I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to remind you to please silence your cell phones, electronic devices before we start. First order of business, public announcements. Details may be found at www.fairfieldme.com. The town of Fairfield is hiring. Please visit the website for more information. Fourth quarter property taxes were due May 7th, 2025. Fairfield's Economic and Community Development Committee will host its second informational session on climate resiliency. Topic will be panel discussion on preparedness and emergency management. It will be on May 20th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the Community Center. Is that next Tuesday?
Yes.
Tuesday. Yep. Non-emergency services will be closed on Monday, May 26th in observance of Memorial Day. Lawrence Public Library. The next Jigsaw Puzzle Challenge will be on Saturday, May 17th at 10 a.m. Coming up on June 14th at 11 a.m., we have Tim O'Brien with presentation based on his book, The Main Roadshow, a roadside tour of the state's history, culture, food, funk, and oddities. Coffee and cribbage every Thursday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Story time every Wednesday morning at 10:30 a.m. Please stop by or contact the library to register for events. For more information on library programming. Councilor appointment, action item 25-49. Order that the town council hereby considers applicants for appointments to fill a town council seat and general assistance fair hearing authority member vacancy for a term set to expire on the date and time of the town council's next annual organizational meeting in January 2026.
So move.
Second.
So we have three applicants. For
Before we
vacancy.
vote, I'd like to have each applicant come up and explain why they want to come to the council table with us and their experience.
I'll second that.
Okay. So is Kenneth Cook here? Kenneth, can you come on up and...
I'm Kenneth Cook from out on the Davis Road, and I'd like to get involved and try to keep the taxes from going through the roof and try to get the town going again. It's a skeleton of what it was when I was a teenager here, so just trying to bring the town back.
Have you been involved in any community groups?
I was on the property tax abatement committee a few years ago. And then my wife has been ill for the last 5 years, so I was kind of busy there. I was a certified assessor. I never worked in the field. I was down at the shipyard, but I was certified as an assessor.
Yeah.
Thank you. Kevin Kitchen?
He's got a Navy hat on, so he can't be that bad. I wrote an introduction for consideration because I didn't know who was running, what the policy was, so bear with me while I read it, make sure I don't forget anything. As everybody knows, I'm Kevin Kitchen. I'm a proud, lifelong, third-generation resident of Fairfield. I have deep roots here in Fairfield as well. I graduated from Lawrence High School in 1988. My grandmother, Phyllis Parker, was a respected school teacher in Fairfield for well over 30 years. She taught me the value of hard work, education, and giving back. After high school, I left home to serve in the military. Over the course of 30 years in naval aviation, I carried my grandmother's legacy with me, became part of my daily routine, and my guiding force on how I led and served in the military. While on active duty, I earned my bachelor's degree in professional aeronautics and my master's degree in business administration and management. My education, combined with decades of hands-on leadership, I feel has prepared me for the skills to come back to the town I love and serve with purpose. Fairfield is special to me. It's rich in character and built on strong values. I want to help, keyword help, shape the future that honors our heritage while preparing us for the challenges ahead. To me, this means, and I listed a few things so you guys kind of know where I stand on things: smart, responsible growth that protects what we love about this town, a strong infrastructure and reliable, cost-effective public services that meet our needs, balanced budgeting, transparent spending to ensure long-term sustainability, and a deep commitment to public safety, families, and community. I believe in thoughtful leadership that will put Fairfield first, always. I will listen first, speak honestly, put in the hard work. When challenges arise, I'll double down, face disagreements with respect, and stay focused on what matters, and that's the people of Fairfield. Thanks.
Have you been on any committees or community outreach programs?
Committees, I was on the PFAS committee. I hope to be on the next one. I know that's an item of agenda tonight. As far as the town, I'm a member of the Grange and president of the ATV club.
Have you, I know you're a member of the Grange, so I see you there many times working. Have you worked with the SOS program?
Yes, I'm on the SOS program, on the directors there, and I'm also the Veterans Outreach Coordinator for that program.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Kurt Pease?
I was going to use it. Good evening, everybody. My name is Kurt Pease, and I've been a resident of Fairfield for about 16 years, 15 years. In all honesty, I don't have any experience in town government other than working on some things while sitting in the audience here. And the fact that I don't have any experience actually could be a good thing, because you never have any experience until you're given an opportunity to do things. I know what questions to ask, and I've been trained on knowing the difference in what people say versus the message they're trying to give. So I'd say if you want a fresh look at things, then I'd be happy to take that chair. It's a challenge that I'm welcoming, and I'm happy to do it. And as far as any boards, no, I've never been on any boards or any committees or anything like that, but I'm open to any of those as well. If there's something that I can do to advance this town forward, I'm more than happy to do that, and thanks for your consideration.
Thank you. All right, before I turn it over to the councilors, I just want to thank all three of you. We have excellent candidates, excellent choices, and we're lucky that you applied for the position, and we appreciate you stepping forward.
Agreed.
Do we have any nominations for the appointment?
Just saying that, I think they're all qualified, and I've actually worked with two of them, and I in various capacities, and I trust both. I trust all three of them, but I trust especially the two that I worked with, Kurt and Kevin, implicitly. I think they would work very hard for us. My first recommendation, I guess, will have to be, I think, working with Kevin Kitchen on the PFAS committee. He asked great questions. Was open to listening to different viewpoints, and I think would be the best candidate for the committee, for the council. But I think they're all good candidates.
I agree.
Was there a motion?
I was waiting for Pete.
Do we
just
have a
comments.
motion for a candidate, or?
I just noticed on one application, because I know the former Councilor Matt Tully resigned the 21st. This is dated the 22nd. That was Kenneth Cook, and received the same day that we had a council meeting at 6:30. We did not vote yet for a resignation. So I'm just wondering if this application is a valid application, because the date and time stamp doesn't match.
I don't think there was anything that prevented him from submitting that
Okay.
at that time.
Okay.
And I think he was made aware of the fact that in fact, actually, when he picked up the application, I spoke to him and let him know that I did not know what the council was going to do at that meeting
Okay.
that evening, but he was welcome to.
I just saw
to
the
submit that.
date and
Yeah.
time stamp. I thought I'd just ask the question.
No, I don't think there was anything that prevented that from happening. Usually those deadlines come into play as if it had been submitted after your deadline for submission. I did check after 4 o'clock. There was nothing left outstanding. Nothing had been dropped off at the town office that we had, so it was still just these three.
Okay.
So I would move that we select Kevin Kitchen as our next town councillor to fill the vacant seat.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second.
Again, I think they're all, it's nice to have interest. It was nice to see a large meeting on Monday night, so there's interest, and I think hopefully we'll continue to have that interest, so.
Do you have any more discussion? All those in favor of Kevin Kitchen? All those opposed? It would be 3-1.
All right. So, Kevin Kitchen, you need to come get sworn in, sir. First, I need to get them to sign. Yeah, any of those last one, actually, just the official one. Thank you. All right, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I do swear I'll support the Constitution of the United States
and of this state, so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof.
of this state, and I couldn't hear you,
So long as I shall continue a citizen thereof,
as so long as I shall continue to be a citizen thereof,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Would it be easier if you read it?
Yeah.
That one right there. Raise your right hand though. Second one.
I do swear that I'll faithfully discharge to the best of my abilities the duties incumbent me according to the constitutional laws of the state, so help me God.
Thank you very much.
So,
You can take that seat right up there. There's a full packet for you.
Congratulations, Kevin. Thank you. Thank you to everyone.
Councilor Kitchen.
Nope, this one.
I do want to thank our other two applicants once again, and encourage to please sign up for committees as we need them, both valuable assets, and I think will bring a lot to the town in any form that we can have your volunteerism. So thank you once again. Okay, action item 25-50, ordered that the town council hereby nominates and elects a council secretary.
So move.
Second.
A motion and a second. Do I have any nominations?
I would move that Stephanie Thibodeau is elected to be our council secretary.
Second that.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Any other nominees? All those in favor? All those opposed?
I'm abstaining.
I abstain. Be 4-0-1.
we get to change seats.
No.
We're not going to do
Not
that
today.
this time. We'll move you next meeting.
Oh, okay. Am I getting kicked out already?
Do you want a minute to catch up on where we're at?
Nope.
You're good to go? Okay,
Right.
great. Our second order of business, public hearings, we have none. Third order of business, public comments. Limit will be 3 minutes. Members of the public may speak to the council or request an opportunity to speak on a specific item that is on the agenda, or may email comments for council to info@fairfield-me.gov by 4 p.m. day of meeting. Submitted content may be read aloud at this time. Do we have anybody with public comments, or anybody want to reserve time for further in the agenda?
I'd like to reserve some time on all of these, if something comes up.
Which item specific?
Fair enough.
It's for you.
Okay.
Tim, I'd like to reserve time on 4, 5, 7. And how about the council workshop and other business? Do you have to specify specifically or just any?
What specifically on old council business, Carrie?
Okay.
Do you want to make that comment now into public comment?
No, it's just in case something comes up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matt?
Can I,
All of them, or any specific one, Matt?
The town office.
Item 3,
Yeah.
A3. Okay.
Tim,
Yes, sir.
I guess the second order of business is for the discussing PFAS in the new committee. But it says it's going to be discussed in the eighth order of business.
Yep.
So I have 2 comments to make for that. I mean, I could make them as public comments now. It's kind of up to you.
Yep, we'll put you down for 8th item on item number 5. Okay. Adam?
Yeah, 8th order of business number 3, please.
Okay. We should-
I just had a question to clarify for Carrie. When you said 4, 5, and 7, was that under
Eight,
Six.
two.
the 6th order?
Yeah, and then the
Okay.
8.
Okay, and then 8.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Fourth order of business, reports from staff and committees, town manager report.
Right, so on April 29th, I attended LPC via Zoom. On May 5th, attended KBCOG Executive Board meeting to discuss the 25-26 budget and future programming options. Recent federal funding cuts have caused the organization to do some pivoting on some future projects they were looking at doing, so we were looking into those pieces. May 6th, I did attend LPC via Zoom again, and also the Economic Community Development meeting. And then I just was going to update you on the town meeting attendance, but we can do that when we get to town meeting recap. And that's it for me.
Okay. Committee reports. Councilor Thibodeau, can we start with you, Economic Development?
Yes, we met on May 6th, and most of our meeting was geared towards reviewing the information from the public input session. We had quite a few very interesting comments and some very good dialogue. At the time of the meeting on May 6th, we had 96 people take the survey. And I'd like to remind people, May 20th, we will be having our second info session on climate resiliency, and it's a panel discussion on preparedness and the emergency management system in Maine. So the panel will discuss what happens at the state level, the county level, and the municipal level when there is an emergency. There will be 2 more info sessions coming up this year, and the third one will be, I think, in September, and it's going to be springboarding off from what we talk about with emergency management. So what do you actually do in an emergency? So things are still in the works. I'm still lining up some people. So more information is to come. Next month, when we meet, which is the first Tuesday of the month, we will discuss the survey results, and most of the meeting will be given to that topic. That's it.
Thank you. That's 6 PM next Tuesday, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Is that right in chambers or out there?
It will be in chambers.
Okay.
When's the last day for the survey questions?
The last survey was the Friday of the first week in May.
It was last Friday.
Last Friday, yeah. So that has been shut down, I believe, right, Michelle?
Should have been, yep.
Yeah.
Have you guys discussed the town farm property at all yet?
No, we have not. No.
We can
And it's
run-
not because it hasn't been on the agenda, it's because we run out of time.
Any other questions for Council Tiverton? Peter, Building Committee?
The building committee, we was going to have a meeting May 20th, but there's a schedule conflict with the Economic Community Development and other entities. So the executive director with Michelle, who works for Michelle, put out an email this morning asking us when is the next available meeting, going to meet in June. So that will be updated when we get information.
Okay.
That will be our organizational meeting.
So I have a question, the new guy. What was decided the actual mission was? Because I was confused reading the minutes, reading the agendas, and then what the town website stated that, the website actually stated that the purpose was to find a location. And I thought that was discussed at a prior council meeting. You guys had narrowed it down to 2 locations.
We had, 3 or 4 locations discussed. We can go look at all of them anyways, to determine which one it will meet the standards. Because I discussed each one, because I knew about each of the properties.
Right.
Then we're going to keep on checking and getting more information on new public buildings, maybe taking a tour to other locations.
All right.
So we'll discuss more in the organizational meeting on what more the mission is.
All right, so,
I think the way I understood it is that we are down to probably 2 sites.
Right.
And then I think the big part for the committee is to decide, are we looking at a campus with several buildings, or are we looking at one building that can be used multi-purpose? And I think they have to kind of figure that out. And what that, and when they start
I was
looking
just
at what that
confused
cost
what the
is.
mission was,
Yeah,
that was all.
Yeah.
That's it, thanks.
Does that sound reasonable? Is that?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
Okay.
And PFAS, do we want to just wait and discuss that?
Yes, please.
Later? Okay. Any other committee reports?
I think we're good.
Okay, 5th order of business, consent agenda. These items are considered routine or standard business and therefore will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these matters unless a council member requests prior to consideration of this portion of the agenda, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered next on the agenda. Item 25-51, order that the Fairfield Town Council hereby waives the reading of and accepts the minutes from meeting 2025-08 held on April 23rd, 2025. Item 25-52, order that the Town Council hereby approves the Treasurer warrant number 122, general fund in the amount of $685,859.88, not limited to but including MSAD 49, MMA Employee Health Trust, motor vehicles, and Summit Natural Gas.
So move.
Second.
A motion by Councilor Lawrence, second by Councilor Townsend. Any discussion? All those in favor? Be unanimous. 6th order of business. Old council business. Discuss Heyday progress. I don't have anything to report right now. We had a few few people interested and just have not had time, nor will there be time to pull off an event for this year. I know that we have our 250th next year, so I would like to continue to work on that with that when we do develop a committee. But at this time, it's not going to happen for this summer. Discuss PFAS Environmental Committee and amend the Town Council Administrative Policy to create a new committee to be discussed in the 8th order of business.
Very good. So I'll try to help on that end. So in the discussion of the PFAS committee, our biggest focus was obviously the PFAS issue, and that continues to be at the forefront of our concerns. However, it was also thought at that point, I think George, actually, Hofgren is in the crowd, talked about the most, the fact that we have other impending, potentially, other contaminants and other issues with environmental concerns and contamination, and thought that we should expand that committee to being an environmental committee rather than just PFAS. So I'm proposing that we have a standing, and this should be a standing committee. So a standing committee to address the ramifications of various environmental contaminants, particularly PFAS. And so it would be limited to 2 council members. The appointment qualifications would be Fairfield residents, schedule availability, strengths in toxicology, ecology, and/or agronomy and agriculture, hydraulic engineering, real estate, sustainable development. The committee mission, the scope as defined within the municipal government purview. Number 1, to assess the continuing need for additional testing of water, soil, and any environmental contaminants that may arise. Number 2, to investigate possible sustainable uses for contaminated property and establish a portfolio of possible alternatives for citizens' assistance. Number 3, to develop a long-term plan for clean water availability for affected residents and areas of town, as well as conduct a cost analysis of current and future programs. And number 4, to provide updates in technology, testing, arising concerns, remediation, etc., to the council and community. The committee report will be due to the council on a monthly basis, but with a year-end review. The number of committee members would be 5 to 7. Committee schedule usually is a monthly, to be scheduled by agreement of the committee members. And so everything else is following the normal recommendation of in accordance with municipal records disposition and forward requests, and committee will select from within their membership a chair, secretary. Chair is responsible for the consult of the town manager to develop and provide notice of meetings and qualified agendas. Secretary is responsible for taking minutes, agendas and minutes to follow Fairfield's MMA approved templates. All records and meeting support documents are subject to state records disposition and FOA and must be filed systematically with the town at info@fairfieldme.com. We'll advertise an appointment timeline, post by 5/21, schedule council appointment applications for consideration by June 25th, 2025. So that was fast, but I wanted to get through it all for you if you have questions and concerns. I think it's really important. Kevin, you served on the committee as well. Max Kenny in the audience did as well. And I think it was a really solid committee that did a lot of hard work and had a lot of disagreements, but also listened to each other. So I think, but I think it was really Mr. Hofgren's suggestion of expanding the purview and the horizons of this committee. I think it's important to have that going forward. I guess I would like to propose that we add this as a standing committee.
I'll add on to that. I think we had the discussions about it being a standing committee because information changes fiercely. In fact, I got an email today from Adam that the PFAS standards are going to be sliding in another 2 years. So now it's, I think, at 2031 for municipalities to be up to standard. So that's ever changing. So I think with the committee, moving forward as a standing committee and having the dedication to that, we'll keep all of our residents up to speed on what's happening, whether it be technology or standards or what's just going on in the town as a whole. So I think it's a win-win for everybody.
And I think we also, when we first talked about creating this committee, we said that it should be a standing committee. I remember that discussion. So, yeah, and it should be.
Peter, you have anything to add?
I agree with everyone. The issue is not going to go away. It's just going to get worse with more contaminations out there. So,
It should be a standing
yeah,
committee.
yes.
I will just add, I think there's a couple bills either this week being proposed to lower the state levels to the federal levels of 4 parts per trillion. I read a couple things that they're debating right now, so it will be ever-changing, as Kevin said. So that will put a wrinkle in everything if they lower it from 8 parts per trillion to 4. Okay.
So I probably jumped the gun and jumped out to the 8th order of business, but.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Just a bit.
But, yeah, now you have a
Great
good.
conversation.
Now we jumped in the 8th order, you'll be in good shape.
And we'll bring that back up in the 8th order, as most of that should have been discussed there, in case there's any comments for people that reserve time. The website, the new website is in development. The old existing website is no longer being updated. Website migration information can be found under public notices. Item 4, ambulance purchase negotiations. The ambulance in question is no longer of interest. This item will be revisited when potential unit is found.
Sorry, I had one question on number 3. I should have.
That's okay. We'll go back.
Michelle, do you have any information on that website? Do we have the ability to have a chat bot in that? Just popped in my head while I was, for my meeting today. It's not, I'll just, you can.
I don't know off the
No.
top of my head,
If
and
you-
I can find out.
Yeah, so I'm
So
sorry.
there are some things that come as a standard package,
Right.
and there are some things that we can do as an add-on. I do know the town clerk, even though she is currently out on leave, did have a meeting with them this morning and got an update on the website development and that sort of stuff, but I can find
And I
that.
apologize to spring that on
Nope,
you, but it's one of the
that's
things
fine.
that
I
came
can
up
find out.
today, and I'll talk about later in other business. Thank you.
Carrie, you had reserved time on that item 4. Do you have any questions?
I was just curious why.
I had the same question. The ambulance in question is no longer of interest. Was it something wrong with the vehicle? Is it our interest, we lose interest, or?
Maybe availability.
Chief Larry is here if he wants to answer that.
Hello, yeah, so the ambulance that we were looking for in particular was a used ambulance from the town of Arundel. It ended up having close to 90,000 miles on it, and potentially had a
Main gasket, the,
rear main seal leak.
yeah, thank you.
So, and the asking price was $140,000, so I just felt that that was too much money for the potential of having, future problems with that truck, so that's why we took that off the plate, so.
Thank you.
And I think this item should be taken out of old council business until it's needed again for discussion under other council business.
Michelle, go ahead and address
So
that.
what we'll do is, it's not that we won't continue to look for anything, but instead of you having something on your agenda that just says nothing new to report, once something is found that it may be of interest for the municipality, we certainly will bring it back to the council for you to discuss. That is something we will actively work on. But to keep it under, the one in question that was making this be on old council business while we were negotiating, we're just no longer negotiating with those
Okay.
folks anymore, so there's no reason for that to be there.
Great. Okay, item 5, Fairfield Benton Fire Agreement. Town manager and fire.
Ask a question on
Yes,
why-
yes, I'm sorry.
Why are we still looking at ambulances if we approved the money for Delta?
I would say to be proactive in case Delta does fail.
Well, Delta's been around for quite a while and hasn't failed yet, so.
Michelle?
The other piece of that was that when council was discussing purchasing this ambulance, it's actually while they were discussing the repairs for Med 1 and while we have repaired those. So we could purchase an ambulance. It doesn't inherently mean that the municipality does transport. It just allows for a better location for them to carry their gear, as well as to also put people outside of the inside, so they're out of the elements should there be crashes or that kind of stuff during inclement weather. So what we were doing was looking at what was the best possible option for them. Just because we have, a vehicle with a box on it doesn't mean we transport people.
Okay.
I just got one question. Has there been money set aside for this ambulance, even though money was just approved for Delta?
No.
No.
So how would we continue to look for and buy an ambulance if there was no money set aside for it?
Michelle?
Capital equipment reserve.
Okay, that's what I was asking, if there was already money set
No,
aside for it.
capital equipment reserve.
Okay, all right.
So, I mean, is there money set aside specifically for an ambulance? No. Is there money set aside for capital equipment for the fire department? Yes.
The funding is there to purchase an ambulance, okay, that's what I was.
Purchase equipment.
Do we have a set budget on that we gave chief to
Not that I'm aware of.
deal with, or
Nothing.
That's why it's just a discussion.
what's that?
That's why it's just a discussion at this point.
Yeah, it has to come back to the council anyways for a certain amount we have to approve, so. But there's always money in that account, just in case any equipment goes down.
Item 5, Fairfield Benton Fire Agreement. Town manager and fire chief tentative scheduled to meet with Benton Board of Selectmen in June. Any questions from the council?
Yes, sir. I think that's a key item that we were all discussing.
Kenneth, you have any questions on that one?
No.
No? Item 6, Community Center Grant, no new information. Item 7, stabilization of the fire department and the police department. The building committee is working on scheduling its first meeting. Carrie, did you have a question on that one? Nope, okay.
I have a concern. For the stabilization of the fire department and police department, I still think that we should be doing RFPs so that we can have like TC Hafford or Groundworks come in, do a free estimate for us to see if it is repairable. And the building itself still is part of this town, and I don't think that we should just let it continue to deteriorate. We don't know what's ahead of us for a new building, whether it's public safety or if it's just a police station or what. But I still think that we need to have RFPs put out to see if people can come up with a workable solution for the way that it is. It's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
If it's a free estimate, we should take advantage of it.
I don't see why we can't, and Groundworks is relatively new. It's a combined business of two others. Can't remember what they are right now, but I still think that we should be doing that. And as for the wording in number 5, or number 7, I mean, the building committee is working on scheduling its first meeting. Does not have to do with the stabilization of the fire department and police department.
Mm-mm.
So as far as I'm concerned, building committee is working on, should go under committee reports. And as for stabilization of the fire and the police department, I would like to see RFPs put out for those, for the fire department building.
You want that for an action item on the next agenda?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So I have a question. As a resident, I was always under the understanding that the previous building committee already had these recommendations on whether it was repairable or not. And they gave Peter's team, right, it's in there as far as can they do all kinds of different things. So is it something, so for the building, your experience on is that something that can be repaired? Are we just wasting our time asking people to, or spending money
This has been
for?
a question since last year. Well, some residents saying we're wasting our time with the building committee. Why don't we just get that team in to see if it's actual repairable? We can do that if it's a free estimate.
Right.
And that free estimate can go into the report, seeing if it's still repaired.
Right, that makes sense, because I have a feeling and believe that there's quite a few residents out there that are led to believe, or have been led to believe, that it's not repairable. Of course, the woe is me, it's sinking, it can't be fixed, we have to have an emergency plan. Why are they not in the community center if it's that bad, whatever the case may be. So if it is repairable,
I'm going to say something, what I mentioned before this. I want to condemn it, right then and there,
you wanted to what?
condemn it.
Condemn it.
Yep.
So the building committee is saying condemn it.
No, this is assessment committee.
Which committee is that?
The audit, the fire
Oh,
audit.
the audit, okay.
It's the audit. But I couldn't do that, because there's only, the council can do that.
So I don't disagree with you, Stephanie, that we should, especially when we can get a free estimate. But how much money are we going to spend on people coming to tell us what we already know?
I don't think we've ever had an assessment of cost of what is that stabilization and how long will that.
What's good
that-
for?
Well, how, yeah.
Yeah.
How
Is it a
long will
Band-Aid or a
last? Is it-
cast type
Right.
of thing?
Right.
Right.
Okay.
That RFP should determine that,
Yes,
right?
it
Right.
should. Yeah, and currently, Kevin, what's happening is we do have a company that's monitoring it, the building for further
Deterioration.
deterioration.
It is being monitored?
It is being monitored. But still, I think we should be still doing our due diligence with the RFPs.
Just like we had the same thing for fire station. They saw a hole in the foundation underneath. Same thing with the police station. There's a gap. And they look down there to see if it's still sinking or not, so.
So if we can do an action item for our next May meeting, that will be before the building committee. We can get that started, and they can report that, the
But
committee. and-
The RFP has to come from the town manager's office.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I know we had one before, but then that one was pulled and things like that. But I'm all for it. If you guys want to do that to see if it's repairable, to get that actually an engineer's aspect of it, to go in the report saying, then everyone would be happy saying it is and it's not. So it'll be happy medium, so.
I agree. I think it's the answers to the test. If it's not repairable, then that gives direction to the committee. If it is,
Right.
then
Yep.
we know how much time we have left.
Right. And do we need a stopgap to provide a safe building for our employees to be in, at
Correct.
least until the time they have a new building? And what does that cost look like? All those things. So I think that's a
Right,
big
and-
part of that question.
And are we prepared if they come in and say, give us a worst-case scenario and say it needs to be condemned?
Yeah.
Also, too, the police, they have a contingency plan already. If
Right.
there is, then we move into the community center until
Well,
the new building.
that works for the police department, but not
Right.
for the fire department.
Not fire department, no.
Yeah.
I'm just, I don't know. I don't,
But yeah, is that
wait
doable?
and see what they say, I guess, in
Yeah.
the committee.
Awesome.
So it's a free estimate. It won't cost no money for taxpayers.
If you put an RFP out, we don't pay for RFPs, request for proposals. If people don't want to put in a proposal, then
All
they
right.
don't.
Okay.
And talking about what engineers would say, we're not out to go hire an engineering firm.
Right.
We're not looking at that, but I'd like to hear what these people that have businesses
That
say
would-
about.
That would put the speculation of all the residents and anyone to rest to see yes or no.
Yeah, and it's just another part of the puzzle.
Exactly.
I think it's an important part, definitely.
Yes, I agree. No.
Because I keep seeing it and hearing it all the time.
We can give the floor to Carrie.
Yeah, I have a clarification, I guess. So we've been going down a path of looking at potentially purchasing a new building, and we're not even sure if the building we have is repairable yet or not? Okay.
What- I can-
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
I'm a little confused.
So we have received rough estimates from the engineers that did the investigation on our buildings, police station.
Okay.
About the potential cost of what it would take to repair, back when they looked at it originally 3-4 years ago.
Okay.
It was a cost that nobody was really sure whether it was worth repairing, especially considering it also, they have outgrown that space, and there's not enough space.
Okay.
Then, in turn, what happened was, on top of that, the fire department audit, right, its makeup, everything was done, which reported back on the issues and the conditions with that building. The council then had Dirigo Engineering do a report on that building structure. That came back last fall of where that was and why that building was shifting and moving. Combined all of those things with what we know would be probably more than worth fixing PD and the fire morphed into, let's have a committee look at potentially just a new building instead of the other. They were going to do an RFP for a request for proposals to have it looked at for assessment. And then no sooner did they decide to do that, than they shifted and changed and went to the building committee. So it was really a very evolving process over several months as to where they ended up now.
Okay, understood. And is somebody also going to look at if they do the RFP and they come out and they say, as it is today, it is repairable. However, because it's the ground underneath, I'm making an assumption that it's shifting and that's why it's sinking. Is that just going to continue to happen again over time? So in 5, 10, 20 years, we'll end up right back where we are? I think we need to consider that as well. Just
Okay, what they found was the foundation was made from the old mill.
Oh, okay.
So it's rotten and deteriorating, but it hasn't shifted. So they're keeping an eye on it. So we did get a report saying what was made, the foundation underneath.
Okay,
So it's what it's sitting on. That's what's shifted.
okay. Thank you. Thanks for clarifying.
Thank you.
Is that audit on the website?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions on that one? Any more discussion? Kenneth, yep.
Anybody looked into the vacant mini mall right across the street from the town office to be used for a police department or a town office? It's already built, it's already there.
So actually,
Vacant.
we discussed that at one of our previous council meetings. And actually, Chief Gould at the time brought in serious concerns about the safety of that building and to keep equipment and everything else, whereas they had a contingency plan already in place to use the community center, which I did not know about, but he talked about having that in place, because that was actually a suggestion I had, was to use that mini mall. So just the same idea, and he had real concerns about using that as a police station. But, so they already have a contingency plan to use community center if needed, but it has been.
Okay, I guess I'd have to hear the concerns on why that wouldn't be safe for,
Yep,
if they
so-
want to sell it to somebody else.
Someone with evidence storage, no place to say, no place to put some of the equipment, like vehicles.
Parking.
So those are kind of some of the things they were
So-
concerned about. So those are the concerns he had about it. If we had to get to that point, they have the contingency to use community center, and I'm sure there are other sites we could consider. But yeah, no, I thought the same, and we asked.
So it wouldn't
Chief
be
that.
suitable for a town office either? Instead of building all these new buildings, I mean,
Well,
it's
that's
not like
like
the town's made of money to
That's
buy
actually smaller
ambulances and
than the town
buildings.
office is now.
It's small in the town office now.
Yeah, if you think about the upstairs and the downstairs, and the storage capacity that we have downstairs, that building is actually smaller than the town office. The other piece of that is the fact that this building shares the same technology infrastructure as the town office and the fire department and the police department. We're all connected, interconnected with fiber optic lines. So if anything was to happen at the police department, like their phones, their computers, all of that, they would come over here and it's almost completely plug and play. They're ready to go. And we had to do that during COVID in order to separate our staff because of the close quarters that are there.
Yeah.
But we share all that technology and infrastructure as opposed to going and purchasing another building as a temporary piece because it's that building.
I was just
doesn't have
thinking
the
why it couldn't be
capacity.
the permanent piece instead of building all these new buildings and everything else.
Good question.
Great question, we asked it, yeah.
Okay.
So, but hey, it's always still on the table, right? So I appreciate the question.
So the option was thought by me anyways on some of these buildings. That was an option I was thinking of. Just moving the town office across, but since it's small, too small, it's not an option.
Can I add onto that comment about possibly looking at a different building site? This, I'll just say this very briefly because I'm convinced that when people hear this, they're going to think that it's a silly idea. But I just want to point out that in some of the where money is no object. If you have historic properties or whatnot, let's say you want a brownstone in New York City that has some historic value, they won't knock that down and build something new with ADA compliant. They will go in there and they will save the superstructure of the building, and they will bring that up completely to code and make it better than what something actually brand new could be, which I don't think many people even conceive of as a possibility. The reason I'm saying all this is that picture a town hall looking building with steps going up to it, gleaming in the sun at the highest place in the town, and that has driveways out the back where cruisers can go, and maybe a gym and whatnot. And I see the old junior high school, now the primary school, as fitting that type of a model exactly. And while in Maine it would be not that easy to secure the resources, but we did something very similar in renewing in fixing the Northern Mattress building, almost identically, that same process. I could picture the primary school being repurposed into at least
That building's sold already, George.
Oh, it's sold already?
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
For housing. It's going to be used well, it's for housing.
Yeah, that's okay. Hopefully that, yeah. All right. Well, thanks for cutting me to the quick there, yeah. But maybe something to think about for other things in the future, and maybe not sell off quite that quickly.
It was the school district who made that decision, so.
It was a school. Well, no, they came here and offered it to us.
Right. By law, they had to do that, and we refused the offer. So then they were able to go and put it up on the market.
Yeah.
And it was sold to KV Cap.
Yeah, I thought we should
Yeah.
have done it, but it's old news.
Okay. Item 8, administrative fee schedule. Data collection is still in progress. A 7th order of business, to take action on the following items of business. Item 25-53, order that the Fairfield Town Council hereby approves and signs a resolution of the Town Council of Fairfield, Maine, in support of municipal government in the town of Fairfield.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Thibodeau, seconded by Councilor Townsend. Any discussion?
I think this resolution should be dismissed, because everyone knows why this was created. And we signed it when we took oath, like I said last council meeting. So
We asked about some changes in the wording from the previous, the first iteration.
Right, and town lawyer did look it over and made recommendations, and that's what you have before you.
Can you describe what the changes were?
Town manager can.
I can explain that. So the very last whereas that was in that section that created your conversation and your debate at your last meeting with concerns over stating that it didn't allow people to post on social media if they were on any board or committee. The attorney said to just remove that entire section because the remainder of all your whereases are things that you already do now. And then that the resolve, he simply added pieces where not only we're directly contacting municipal government officials in person, by telephone, email, or by viewing the Town of Fairfield's official website and Facebook pages, because those things were missing from ways in which people can ensure that they get information regarding town business. And that was it. He said, other than that, it is something that the town council already does, and you are just using, as you had discussed, your First Amendment rights to ensure that folks realized that there are lots of social media groups that are out there that do just exactly what this says, have the word Fairfield in it, but they are not official Town of Fairfield informational sites.
So in his...
Meaning Town of Fairfield as an entity, not as a community.
So by making those changes, his opinion was there was no type of a gag order.
No. Okay.
So as I read through the last one, I was prepared to speak at it at the last meeting, but it got tabled for discussion, so here we are discussing it. As I go through each one of these, correct me if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, isn't each and every one of these already in everything for mentioned up above per the state law? I mean, by signing everything, aren't we already doing this?
We should be, and I think, so this is, in my mind, you can move to dismiss it, that's fine. It also is just a reiteration that we stand together, that we will uphold our, what we've said we would do in our oaths, so.
So if I'm going to chair a committee, I hate hypotheticals, by the way, but this plays into it. If I'm going to chair a committee and we're going to ask our committee members to sign this, what are we asking them to sign?
Oh, the committee members wouldn't sign this.
No,
but-
they won't, but it says here that where was it? Fairfield Town Council, its boards and committees.
Right.
And Fairfield employees efficiently, effectively carry out. So does this apply to the committees or does it not? I read this as it does. So if it does apply to the committees, then the committee should have to sign it, I would think.
To be on a committee in the town, you do sign the code of ethics.
Yes.
And that's mentioned there.
Maybe I'm not. Maybe
So it is redundant. It is everything that we already sign. It's a reiteration of everything that we already do. Michelle, I'm going to let you speak.
So the resolution is signed by the council, Kevin, just as he said, reiterating what it is that the town council, boards and committees, as well as the town manager, town staff, what everybody is responsible for doing. But what they're responsible for doing, some of those things, they don't all exist in the same document either, right? So they're in different places. So this was just reiterating all of those things.
I don't know, I'm for rereading the charter and the code of ethics and everything we signed, but
I think it's time to dismiss it. We already have these in force.
I make
We
a
need-
motion to dismiss this.
But we have a motion and a second, so we'll have to vote on that first.
And what is the motion? As
To sign
read?
the
To
resolve this.
prove it as read.
Yep.
Any more discussion on the original motion? All those in favor? All those opposed? It'd be 3-2 opposed.
And that's,
So I don't think we need another motion. We killed it.
Yep.
Okay. Item 25-54, order that the Fairfield Town Council hereby countersign the MSC number 49 district budget election warrant. Motion.
So moved. Second. The only thing I'm going to say, it was a very, very interesting meeting last night. It was very, very less what we had at the town meeting. Fairfield was the most people there. We only had, 36 people voted?
Total.
Total. Oh, 4 towns.
There were only 2 people that even spoke any questions
Yeah.
about a
Yeah.
$35 million budget. So I will concur with Peter. It was not the same atmosphere.
And half of the school board was missing?
Yes.
And for years I was going to these, and as a teacher from SAD 49, and the budget never changed. What was suggested for the amounts, that never changed.
We tried.
We tried last night.
I'm sure you did. Thank you. And again, 60% of our taxes is due to education.
So this is a warrant. It will go to referendum vote in June. This is just what was passed at the warrant. Again, much like we do to get taken to town meeting, this will go to referendum vote in June. Citizens of all 4 towns will have a say. I mean, I will tell you that I asked for all expense items to be lowered by $50,000 per article because they had a $3 million carryover. The reason I asked that was to get the total local share to 0 so that they wouldn't pass any more local taxes on to the towns. Fairfield's going up about $320,000 for our share. Albion is roughly $120,000. Clinton, roughly $55,000. And Benton is going down $163,000. So that was the reason I had asked for about a $500,000 decrease due to their $3 million carryover.
So that was like a 4% increase last night. But they're saying the towns, each town is doubled. Share is doubled. So,
Were those numbers different from when we went to the?
No.
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 Can I ask a question to the council?
George, this one's an action item, so no,
Okay.
you can't speak on this one. Sorry. So again, I'm just telling the public for their information, those that weren't there, it's important, just like Monday night was important for your voices to be heard. When you vote in June, it'll be important. The difference will be the other 3 towns will have their say as well. So the warrant is what it is.
That gets shot down and vote.
If the school budget gets shot down, you'd have to remember that the 3 other towns also had a say in shooting it down as well. And then they would have to go back to
Second.
their budget committee and reevaluate and do something different.
Has happened before.
It'll come back as another referendum vote if I'm
Yeah, yeah.
not mistaken.
just make one comment about that? It's not a question, it's just a quick.
Sure. I mean, I didn't let George, so I need to move on
The
to
fact
action
that
item.
60% of the school board wasn't there is bad optics. It is just not a good look.
It was mostly one town wasn't there.
Okay, this isn't public comment, so I need to move on from it, sorry. Again, you'll have your say at the ballot box in June. This is our responsibility, the people that went to the warrant, they set their budget, and it's up for us to sign it, to pass it on to our voters, so.
So
Absentee ballots are also available at the town office if folks are not going to be able to attend the June election, just so that they're aware.
So with this information, we should now be able to get an estimate on what our taxes, or what's going to happen with our taxes. I think that would be key information to have for our residents before this goes to vote. I think you guys did, and the town manager and the budget committee, everything that we did Monday, we had a couple of issues that we worked through, but for the most part, we're at a 0 for the town. I think we did our part as a whole, and it would be interesting to see, and I know with the reval of the property and getting that additional, getting up towards that 80, I think it's 85% now we're at, what this number is going to do with our taxes. I can punch in the numbers. I know there's a spreadsheet out there, or whatever the case may be. I'm a nerd like that, but I think that would be good information for our residents to know, going into it.
We're not flat.
Yeah.
No.
The town's not even close to flat. We're almost a $500,000 up now. We passed an article, though. But anyway, let's go back to the warrant to sign. We've got a motion and a second. Let's stay on topic. And any more discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Item 25-55. Order that the town council hereby approves and sets the fee for the firefighter 1 and firefighter 2 program at $500 per person.
So move.
Second.
A motion by Council Lawrence, second by Council Townsend. Chief Leary, can you explain that to us before we even get into our discussion?
Yep, sure. So for the last 3 years, we've held the Fire 1 and 2 program at the training facility. This is just to get it on the fee schedule, so we will charge anybody interested from the outside $500 per person. And basically, it helps pay the instructors for their time. That's basically what we use it for. Anything left over will be placed in the training facility account and used for maintenance of the building further down the road. So it just helps with that. We also have applied every year. I call it a grant, but it's not really a grant. The Maine Fire Commission has a grant program, I guess, but we don't actually receive funds, but they assist us. They cover the cost of up to 24 textbooks. They cover the cost of the online learning portion of the class. They cover the cost of the written exam for one attempt for everybody. They give us 3 pails of Class A PFAS-free foam to use for training, which is, they're like $150 a pail now. And then up to $950 to use for any building materials, plywood, 2x6s, 2x4s, anything like that, hay for our live burn. So we do take advantage of that free money, basically, and to do these programs. So, and currently, up to about 10 students right now, and more to come, hopefully.
So who runs that program? There's been
I
discussion
do.
about, okay, yeah, so there's been discussion about some of the KBCCs and also the technical centers and.
Yeah, no, it's that's just done by us, by me.
Okay, this is yours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a limit and a maximum?
So 24 would be our limit, just because that's what the cost is that is covered. In all honesty, 24 would be a huge class. About 15, 16 is a pretty good number, but we would take up to the 24 if there was that interest. So.
How long's a class? And how many
So we're
classes?
going to start, orientation will be May 29th, and then the first class will be June 5th, and then we're going to, depending on, we don't know when we're going to be able to test out with the Maine Fire Training Service Institute. So when, I'm guesstimating mid to late September we'll be done, the testing and everything.
You're not using any pyrotechnics or other things that might scare the residents and,
No,
Okay.
we'll just do live burns at the training facility. but
okay,
that's
just in case they saying.
Yeah, no.
Also on Facebook says there's
Yeah.
a fire, so.
No explosion. No.
So one class a year?
Yeah, right now, one class a year,
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty, like I said, so it will go, from June to September, and basically, it's gonna be, this year, we're trying something a little different, we're doing more weeknight classes instead of weekend classes, because obviously, people don't wanna spend their weekends during the summer stuck in training all the time, so we're hoping that the weeknights draws a little more interest. We had 16 last year, so hoping for that number right around there this year.
Would this potentially help our call roll?
Absolutely, yeah. So we just hired, we've put on 5 call members in the last 2 or 3 weeks on and off. So 4 of them are going to be going through this program, so. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So
Michelle?
we've charged for this before in the past, just not at this rate. The town council is the only ones that are allowed to set fees. So that's why this is here. And this goes in, like he said, a designated account. It offsets the cost of them to provide that. One of the other things that Chief Leary has been working on, just so the council is aware, because they don't technically have a classroom up there yet, it looks as though we're going to be able to get one of those from Skowhegan once they have finished up with all of their school pieces up there and consolidation, one of their modular classrooms. We'll be bringing that to you once we have more information, because of course it'll have to be, there'll be things that need to be done, but at least we've been able to find a building that will work at no cost, so it's, well,
Fantastic.
no cost to get the building there'll be costs, but
Really?
the building itself, so it was good.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Oh, that's good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Unanimous? Eighth order of business, council workshop and other business. Item 1, discuss repairing Fairfield Center Fire Department. Councilor Lawrence?
Because most of these eighth order business is mine, so that has been a big discussion from residents I've been hearing from, saying, why can't we upgrade the Fairfield Fire Center and utilize it rather than use it as a storage? That will help the center out. So because we did assess that. It's in the building assessment report on what the issues what we saw in the building.
And what were those, Peter?
I know that has heat, I don't know if it must have electricity, I think, and nothing else works.
No water?
Well,
There is heat, electricity. We do store the brush truck out there from usually, once we get some snow until end of April, until fire season starts, basically. So we do keep it heated for that purpose. Public Works has used it for storage of lawnmowers in the past as well. So it does have heat, electricity. I believe the water has been shut off because I believe they had some issues with some freezing pipes when the old heating system failed during the middle of the winter time. So I believe that has been discontinued, but I'm not 100% sure. Do you
and I know
Michelle?
the sewer.
I believe it has.
Yeah,
Sewer part is in the parking lot of LaGrange now.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a septic?
Yeah. It's a septic tank. It's on the Grange property.
I know personally that was a good functioning station back in the 80s when the volunteers actually built that station that were out in the center, and they had a great basically department out there. They would have a chimney fire on the Davis Road, and the center company would handle it. The in-town guys would stay right here. They wouldn't even go out to it. We just don't have that involvement anymore.
It was completely volunteer, right?
Yeah, it was completely volunteer, yeah. This
And-
used to be Company 1, that was Company 2.
And there was a fire truck there as well, I remember
Yeah,
that.
there was a fire truck there until, I'm going to say the early 2000s. We had, is what typically would happen was, we always had 3 engines here in town, well, 4 actually. And then when we got rid of Engine 2 and Rescue 3 back in 2014, 2013, we didn't have a spare piece to put out there anymore because we got rid of 2 trucks and replaced it with 1.
So technically, I guess, we would still need to rely on volunteers.
Yeah. So if there was a piece of apparatus out there, yeah, somebody who lives in the center, or, I mean, they don't have to live in the center. It could be anybody driving by that's trained, could pick up that apparatus and go. Yeah. I did speak with ISO a couple weeks ago and asked them what, we would need for that to qualify as a fire station, and they said you would need a piece of apparatus.
We need what?
A piece of apparatus in there. So some sort of fire apparatus.
My biggest concern is for people with home insurance, knowing that there's a fire station there. To me, it should have some kind of semblance of a fire station, not a storage building.
Yeah.
So that at least we can say the insurance is covered.
And I guess that's the caveat to it, that yes, it would be a fire station if there was a piece of apparatus in it, but if there's nobody to drive that piece of apparatus, it's still essentially useless for life safety and public safety. That's the biggest thing we run into, just the manpower, the lack of manpower.
Peter, can you speak to any structural issues with the building that we need to address in the near future?
Because I know we have to replace the windows and doors.
Yeah, I know. I
And get the-
feel that the insulation is very moldy and
and-
probably need to be removed.
Yeah, because I don't know if it's asbestos out there or things like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, because I know it's built in the 70s.
Yeah, 70s or 80s, yeah.
Why don't we get an RFP on that building? See what it's going to need?
If we do repair it, what are we gonna do with it?
Rescue or,
So
Yeah, that's the,
Well, which is why I'm asking. So as long as it's stable, that we have heat and electricity, and the roof is stable, and the foundation's stable, and all those, things, a building that falls in, then as long as we have it, depending on what happens, the whole process, the whole thought idea here about a public safety building, about a rescue, whatever else comes down the line, as long as we have a building that's still usable and viable at that point, it gives us options.
or we can put Med 1 and another rescue out there.
Right, so it gives us options.
Right,
So
options.
Would that count, though, Med 1, or a rescue vehicle for ISO?
I would have to look into it a little bit more with ISO, but he just said a response vehicle. He didn't specify whether it was a fire truck or, you know, I guess my thought would be, again, I'll always go back to the, you know, if we have a fire apparatus out there, we should have some people with it, you know.
Is there an auditing process in that? And then what's the liability if it fails? Or you said alls we need is an apparatus, but if we don't have a driver.
Right, exactly.
Then we're going to get nabbed for not being able to use the apparatus.
No, because ISO is based off of a lot of things. It's not just, it's what you have for apparatus, how many gallons of water you carry, what your pump capacity is, your response times, there's the water system, dry hydrants, it's a whole host of items, training, that's all factored into our ISO rating. Our current ISO rating is a 3.3, which is actually very good for a community our size. When you look at like Portland is a 1.1 probably, I'm guessing.
Okay, the age of the building is built in 75.
Yes.
And it's 1,400 square feet. And my team rated it 3.5, fair to poor. So.
Yeah, I think it could be viable, and obviously, you know, we would always want to keep it if it is viable. You know, it's just that we need those other pieces to make it a viable fire station, I think, personally.
See what it would cost. I mean, RFPs are free.
I think we should just get a
RFP?
on it and bring
Just
it
to
back.
see
And
what,
as we're getting
have
into
somebody
our
look
building
at it,
committee.
what they think would be, to bring it up to speed.
Give it to the building committee and.
Absolutely.
We can't expand it anyways, because it's just.
Yeah, the law,
so-
yeah.
Or we can do the RFP first before we give it to the building.
The RFP would be
Correct.
for,
For what?
what's the parameter of the RFP? That's for proposal for,
Well, that's a good question. How far do we want to go?
is it to stabilize the building? Is it to?
We don't have anything that indicates that that building's not stable, right? So you want to do.
A functioning.
So,
What's
well,
the-
but what do you want it to function as? Because
What
those
will
are
it
all
take
pretty
to
loaded.
get it back up to running standards? What is needed to make it,
Well, if you're just talking windows and doors, I mean,
toilet don't work, the water hookup.
but you don't, it's not a manned station.
Right.
Why do I need water and sewer?
Well, you need to wash your equipment, number one. So you do need to have
We have fire
water.
hydrants and stuff.
We all.
It's called the hydrant.
We do have like a fill hose in there. We've always had that, so that could be hooked back up, stuff like that.
I think the RFP should be per
Yeah.
the department head standard.
Yeah.
Whatever he decides he thinks he needs.
I mean, yeah, we could look at windows, doors, have them see if the insulation should be replaced, if the roof is okay, you know, stuff like that. Make sure the structure is sound, I guess, and start from there.
Are there any water main breaks from the city water? Is
Not
why
that I
we
know.
shut
I
it
know
off?
they've had some issues in the bathroom years ago, but I think it's all contained inside the building. I don't think there's anything. Bruce would probably know a little bit more.
The heating system
That was updated.
broke.
Yeah,
and caused the pipes to freeze.
yeah.
And so we shut it off, and it,
Never got fixed.
and they never turned that part back on. But the heat works fine. Like, the heat was converted. It used to be
They
like.
put it in.
Propane.
They put it completely, yeah,
Propane
they went to
Had it
natural
all.
gas, but there used to be forced hot water, I think,
Right,
was in there.
right.
And that froze, so, or part of the bathroom froze that was in there, and so the water was just shut down because it wasn't manned, and irregardless whether you use a drop of water or not, you pay a quarterly bill if it
Right.
is on, so.
So we'll definitely need to find out if there's broken pipes.
Yeah.
So we can work this one up, and we can put all the RFPs on your next meeting, and you'll see what they read and have the opportunity to make changes to them for them.
Great.
Yeah.
Very great. This is an asset, we should keep it
Yeah.
viable.
Yep.
Carrie, come on.
I just have another clarification, because I think the question was asked, but I don't think I really heard it. Do we have, if we make this a viable building, do we have an apparatus to put out there currently? So we would have to purchase something.
Yeah.
Thank you.
George?
Yeah, I always come in with these suggestions, but I think this is honestly realistic and practical. So we've seen in the last year just how concerned and caring the community is on the macro issue of an ambulance, of Fairfield Center, of available resources out there. And I don't live out there myself, but this topic keeps coming back to the one limiting factor of the individual property itself being small. Why not, maybe not here at this meeting tonight, but why not consider and the town has sold off major properties right here in town. Why not consider, should a property be procured out there that's in whatever best location there is, for which something can be constructed for, for whatever future uses? Because when there is a fire, I mean, that is, location is absolutely essential. So I think there's no reason not to be constrained. If it's this important to everyone and we're passing these kinds of budgets and whatnot, I mean, if you're talking an extra $100,000 to buy a piece of raw land and $50,000 to move in the utilities, okay, I just think that's within our purview. I'm sorry I'm speaking it to death, but
Thank you.
Yes.
Carrie?
One more clarification.
Yes.
Does ISO consider it a fire station now? And is that because there's not an apparatus in it, or because it's not up to a certain standard?
So the last audit that was done by ISO was done with Chief Bickford, and we had, I believe at the time, the brush truck was housed out there. When I spoke to ISO the other day, he mentioned something, and I have to do a little more research on this, about an undesignated building, basically a storage building, but he doesn't think that would necessarily affect our rating at all.
Right, not the rating, but what, I guess my question is, what makes a building a fire station?
He said having a piece of apparatus in it.
Okay, so you could literally like have a barn, put a fire truck in it and say we have a fire
I
station?
don't know about that, but.
Okay.
But maybe.
That's what he said. I asked him, I said, what do we need to do to have this as a fire station? He said.
ISO is an organization that insurance companies use to determine a rating per town. There are a lot of factors that go into it, as Chief Larry said. Training, distance from fire station, water, pond, river, hydrants. Yeah, there's a number of factors. There are hundreds of insurance companies that use that. I've read lots of insurance throughout the entire state. We don't determine the rates. I work for companies. I'm an agency. I've never heard, and they change. If you're more than 5 miles from a station, some companies are going to put you in a protection class 10. The 3-3 that Chief Leary's saying, that's where that rating comes in. There's some companies will not write a protection class 10. In our own district with Benton, we have some that are more than 5 miles from what they consider a station. They fall in that protection 10, they will pay a higher rating. So,
Yeah.
It's important to keep that 3-3 for the majority of us, but there are already some far beyond that outskirts, I'll say Bear Mountain, Martin Stream, Colville Road, Larone, that are going to fall in that classification.
Right, I understand the why and the ISO rating and having a fire station out in the center and why people who live out there would want it. That I do understand.
Yeah.
My question is, sometimes I feel like we put the cart before the horse, so to speak, and like we're already working on building up our fire station and our EMT units here in town and looking at the whole situation with Delta. We just, had a town meeting on Monday night about all of that. And if we're going to be putting out an RFP to say, make this a viable building, I think we need to understand what makes that building a fire station, so we know what we're asking for in our RFP. And then, okay, now we have a fire station out there. What are we going to do for an apparatus out there, and how are we going to pay for that, and is it even in the budget? So I just feel like sometimes we start moving the ball forward, just like we talked about earlier with the fire station, before we even really know what we're looking at. That's why I ask these clarifying questions sometimes, because I'm trying to get
I think it's
clear
information, and
strategy in
it's
my
being
mind
proactive
without-
in case those ratings may change. And it's good to have that information. If we don't have a cost analysis or or if things do change, we have nothing to bring to you. We do have capital reserves, so, as we talked about with why we keep looking at an ambulance, if the right one comes up and we're going to be proactive, I mean, that's what those reserve accounts are for, no different than when Med 1 broke down. We have those monies needed. The more information we have, the more transparent we can be. I think it's our due diligence, so.
I agree.
And in my head, I look at this more being a proposal to make sure that the building is usable for people and not necessarily a specific use. So we want to make sure we have a building that has windows that are working, doors that are working, heat that's working, electricity that's working, water that's
Access to
working.
water.
And then we have a solid building that we have an option to use it. If we decide, hey, if we don't do any of those things, then we're going to have a building that is decrepit, falls in, and then we have to demolish it and we have to do something.
Most of the concern I've been hearing from residents, all the town buildings are out in Fairfield here. The center has that storage center.
Right.
That's the biggest concern. Why can't we split?
What?
Split some of the assets from Fairfield and to the center to make it more viable, because most of the 3/4 of the accidents are in the center.
Are you talking about staffing, Peter?
Because when you put out your RFP, then if that's the case, when you put out your RFP, like Councilor Townsend said, if it's to have people in it, that's very different than a building with an apparatus in it. So I think we need to get clear on what it is that we're intending to do with it, so that we know what we're asking for.
I
in an
agree, and I think
RFP.
our fire chief is probably the best person to determine that. I'm reading this, we're discussing repairing the Fairfield Center Fire Department. If it meets his standard, if it doesn't, it's going to cost us this, like you're saying, we're gathering information. We also had many discussions in the past about what we're going to do selling our public property. If it's going to cost too much to repair this, then we have data to provide to the taxpayers that it's probably advantageous to sell it and not do anything with it.
Right.
So I think getting an RFP to repair it per chief standards, if he were to use it for whatever reason, to have that data, okay, we know that, because with that RFP will come the water, okay, to fix this. Anybody that's going to look on that property for a commercial piece of property is going to be able to wade through that and say, well, I don't need this, I don't need that. It's going to cost me X amount of money if I want to purchase this building. So I think if we go by chief standards, I think we're setting ourselves up for the data, whichever direction we want to go.
Right. Maintaining options. So we want an RFP, is that what the discussion is? We'd like to have?
I think that's a good starting
Yep.
point.
Based on Chief Larry's recommendations?
Yeah, yeah. It's a good starting point. It's town value, town property. We should be maintaining it anyways. And then if it's going to be something, we don't have our magic ball in front of us to know how we want to use it. But at least we can say it's a viable building, and then we can move on and create a plan for that building. But we don't know right now because it's been unused.
We were all just told that we got to chip in on this $500,000 to hire 3 more firefighters. You can't really go back and say we can't man your fire station, even though you're hiring, we're paying for the firefighters.
Money, Kenneth, if something happened and we wanted to get something repaired, we do have money in the budget already for building repairs. It's nothing new that would have to be
It isn't going
added.
to do any good if there's nobody out there to man it.
No, but it
Having
should
the
be.
truck sitting there isn't going to put the fire out at my
No,
house.
but maybe down the road, that is something that we could consider. But right now, the windows, the basic repairs need to be looked at, so we can have a quote to know how much it will cost. Maybe it's in a lot worse shape than we think it is.
That's why it's an RFP, right?
I heard when the Oakland one was built that a lot of the community got together and chipped in and helped build that. I don't know how that all got done legally or any of that.
They
but I
have
heard
bonds, they bonded.
Yeah, because I heard the community, a lot of volunteers, people in the community came in and helped
Back
build that and
then, yeah.
outfit it and.
Yeah, back in the
Why
70s.
couldn't we do that?
So that's part of the whole discussion that the building committee's having.
Right,
Right.
yeah, and in the 70s, they had a lot of volunteer firefighters that helped to make that
I mean,
building.
building the new facilities
Oh,
that
you're
they
talking
have
about
out
the
in
new
Oakland
building?
now, yeah.
I don't believe that that's possible. We have to have.
Yeah, I don't know how you'd get around that legally, but I heard it was done out there in Oakland. so.
I'm not sure either, but I do know that the municipality is required to have certified licensed contractors in order
Yeah,
to.
but we have a bunch in town.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And maybe that's what they had.
Yeah.
Right? They had contractors that were residents of that community that
Vol-
volunteered their
volunteer,
time
right,
for
yeah.
that project.
So
Yes,
on the-
that's a possibility.
Yeah, that'd be worth looking into, I think. 'Cause we got plenty of licensed contractors in town, so.
Sure. Is there any way we can just form a committee for this building?
Sorry.
Do we have a building committee?
Yeah, so we can put this on that as well.
We do, but I think that's what the RFPs would be for, to hand over to the committee for data.
I mean, like Carrie said, though, if we fix that building and we have no equipment, it's still a storage unit.
Which is fine at the moment,
Yeah, but it's fine for the moment, but it's been fine since 1988.
as long as we have a building that's stable. That's at the moment while we're still trying.
It's either a fire department, it's a storage building.
And my concern is people that have insurances.
Exactly, that's my concern, too.
You know?
Like you've talked about, ISO comes into a lot of factors. It's not just about one building.
Yeah.
But you need water to fight fire.
So you have a hydrant that's right there, right by Representative Radicki's house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And there's many down the other roads we tried looking at. So there's a lot of factors.
yeah.
It's definitely a starting point.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about it.
So that's why we have this RFP.
Yeah.
Right?
So, yeah.
That's why I thought I'd just bring it up.
Yep.
Put it down the road, so.
Do you know if it's a shared septic with the Grange?
It's not,
Could it be a shared septic with the Grange? Because they must have a septic.
it's not.
No?
No.
No, and it wasn't even a shared septic with the home that was there before it was torn down. It just happened to be on that property's property.
Okay.
It's over the property
But
line.
the septic hasn't failed, it's just the pipes froze inside the
Right.
building. You know, that's.
And I'm fairly certain when we
Yeah,
transferred the property to the Grange, we maintained an easement.
Yes, we did.
Yep.
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 Okay.
Okay, item 2, discuss the repairing of the community center.
That was one mine again, too. I know Stephanie's got half the items completed already. It was on the assessment. But I know we was thinking down the road to make it more viable in here. We had, you probably heard it Monday night, the acoustics in that room is horrible. Updates and adequate and needs a facelift big time because the roof, it leaks on that side going next to the police station. It leaks, the roof leaks. So I just thought bringing up the discussion with the council, more additional, because I know the kitchen's been worked on, I know the bathroom's been worked on, that's in the report too. But I was just thinking a more adequate thing for the residents to do renters and for future use on other things.
So it'd be prudent to make a list of the things that you think are failing here and do an RFA on that as well?
I got right here, we got it as a 2.5 adequate and fair. There's no generator here. The hot water system will not support the showers, which is being worked on already. Kitchen and restrooms, locker rooms, facilities need updating, which we have done already. And updates and adequate needs a facelift. That's
Yeah, it needs new windows are needed. The doors should be replaced.
So that's the grant that we're waiting on, correct?
This, right, just so people know, I think it was last year, we received notice, was it from Angus King's office,
Yeah.
Michelle, or Susan Collins?
It's not public information yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Whoops.
But
So we'll
there
just say
is,
it's in the
there
works.
is
It's
something
something
being
within
worked
the
on
works.
that will, and it's taking a long time. But I did recently double check, maybe with somebody's office, if it was still a viable project. I've been told that it is, and it hopefully will be announced soon. But there is something possibly, maybe coming for the community center.
Right.
That maybe might address some of maybe those issues.
So do we wait until we get further information would be my recommendation.
Look at it.
I'd put a timeline on it.
We can't
Again.
because that
Well, I
is
understand,
coming from a different source.
We still need to look at what it's going to cost to fix whatever needs to be done.
I'm been pushing for something that we could do that, to make it public so that we know maybe if there's something, what it's going to be.
And also too, I noticed when we did the inspection, I look up, there's a fan, and when he says it doesn't work. So to keep that airflow, so that we do have a fan up top, it doesn't work.
I thought it did
So
work,
if-
it's just loud.
What's that?
I think it did work, it's just
Oh,
loud.
it's loud, yeah.
And the pipe, and the part of the roof that was leaking wasn't the roof, it was a pipe. So the ductile iron pipe work that's in here leaks.
Yeah, we've got a
I
spot
mean-
in the ceiling and.
Right, and then, so we just, and then they shuffle panels around and that kind of stuff, and we have them come in and they have to replace those sections, and usually it's where the pipe hangers are,
Right.
and it's been sitting there.
I'm just concerned too about the air quality in the main gym there, because I had a couple of vents in there. Filled me right up. The air quality in that main auditorium is awful. I had problems Monday night. So, I've
not
been
air
exposed a
conditioned.
lot.
Right, it's not air conditioned.
And,
You ever had Pete? Never mind.
what's that?
Oh,
I've been, just like overseas, we've been exposed to a lot. So I've been exposed to a lot, I can smell it. It affects me, so.
Kenneth?
Is there not annual money every year for maintenance? And every town, every building this town owns is falling apart or falling on itself.
We have a building reserve for repairs.
Right.
I mean,
But what we
why
have-
not replace 2 windows a year and not get to the point where you need all new windows and all? I mean, there's money set aside every year to do this.
We gotta stop having kids breaking in.
Well, like the
Next to the
windows
police
in this room need, those over there are broken, and I suppose we could have them replaced.
Yeah, it's just bad that it gets, they all need fixing. Why haven't been 2 a year or 1 a year or whatever?
agree.
So when you get to that point, we had that discussion, I also, but right now, we're trying to get that different grant money, so there's no cost or low cost to this town, is the real push right now. So if that doesn't come through, then we need to go look at a reserve.
Yeah.
Because this building was constructed in '79, so it,
But wasn't money set aside Monday night for maintenance and stuff here? I mean,
But if
there
we
must
can-
be money set aside every year
Yep.
for that.
There is, that we
Yeah,
have
so, I
reserve
mean,
accounts.
so how does
for
it get
building
to the point
maintenance.
that
And
it's
you
in
make
this bad
you make a
disrepair?
valid point, and
Right.
rather,
Yeah.
grant money's fantastic when it comes and if it comes, but every building needs, like our homes.
Yeah, it's like every
yearly
building we
maintenance,
own,
so,
we're saying we need a new one now because they're all falling apart.
yeah, we
There's
need that
been money
building
spent
committee
to
get
fix
a-
these.
We need that building committee to get that annual maintenance as part of our report.
As maintenance.
so I have a question. I understand the need to be cryptic or for not to release information, not to be public yet. But what is keeping the community center from being used as advertised? What has to be repaired?
It was the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, we're hoping by September it will be functioning. It will be a functioning kitchen.
Okay.
And with that, we'll have to, I hope we're going to take another look at our fees that we're charging. So the
So
community.
it's all in work, right?
It's all in, yeah.
So that's what, just going back to discuss the repairing of the community. Is there something additional that has to be repaired?
Everything's
talking about?
functional right
I
now.
know about the boiler, I know we have replaced that before.
Yeah, that was a
Something else
couple
we
years
saw.
ago. Yeah.
So we will more than likely have to replace that boiler because we didn't do that one, we did the fire department boiler. Because of the component that they've said in these gas boilers, right? There's something to be said for buying low bid. We did appropriate money Monday night. We appropriated $50,000 in capital reserve for all of our buildings, so that's everything. Not just this building, but Public Works, Fire, Police, Town Office, Library, all of our structures, 50 grand for the year. Things that we are looking at, issues that we are finding is, so the stove is not hooked up yet in the kitchen because the current wiring and the old wiring is not to code with the new stove. So we are working on that solution and how we can address that, because that was not a cost that was built into the grant. And timing for the electrician, because there's a lot of things that have to be done in order to ensure that wiring gets run to the appropriate location, so to make sure it's to code. So though, and I'm only assuming we're going to run into the same exact situation with the dishwasher for that being replaced. We believe everything for the refrigerator has already previously been updated, because the refrigerator has been updated several times over the years. But the dishwasher is not, it's original to the building. So those are some of the issues we're finding.
So would you recommend that the whole building has to come up to code? That's what I'm hearing.
So like all codes, right? So if you don't touch it, you don't need to change it. But if you touch it, you need to change it.
But we're wanting to touch it to
But
make
there
it-
isn't, other than the kitchen, there isn't anything that this building was designed to do that it's not already doing, other than the giant tank that was meant to hold hot water for this facility to run all those showers was downgraded to a regular, almost household hot water tank. So it's not designed for there to be a sporting event and a team's gonna go and take a hot shower afterwards.
Gotcha.
We just don't have that kind of water capacity. That is something that we are also looking at with this maybe sort of project, so,
That we can't talk about.
that we can't talk about.
I'm tracking. Thank you.
Okay. Item 3, discuss opening the town office later on Wednesdays. Peter?
This has been an ongoing concern for years. And my residents keep asking and asking, why can't the town office be open just late one night?
Like till 6?
Because some of the towns, when they have their selectmen meetings or council meetings, their town office is open because their meeting rooms is the same building. But ours is not. So that's just a thought. Council night or whatever night propose or something.
But it is a separate building rather than.
Yeah, it's
Right.
as hard as a separate building, so.
So the other thing too is to remember is that we're actually open on Fridays, which you go to a lot of towns, Waterville now, Winslow now, and Fridays they are closed.
Yep.
So we do have that ability to go there on Fridays, which is the classic, like, oh, I'm heading to camp. I need to register this trailer. I need to register this camper. I need to register this boat. I have to do that before I head to camp. So being open on Fridays is
It's not-
something, that's a valuable, hey, as a
Right.
private business, I'm open till 6 Tuesdays and Thursdays, right? But that's also my decision because I work that time, Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'd love to see it. Would I like to see it? Sure. I'd like to see it coming from the employees that are there to say, yep, I'll work that late night, but I'm going to have Friday afternoon off. Whatever. I think it should come from them. I think it's a valid discussion. But the fact is, we should remember that we are open Fridays, which a bunch of other towns are not.
I wasn't saying close one day. We still open 5 days a week. Just have different hours one night. Maybe open.
So my feeling on it is, these employees are hired to work 8:30 or 4:30 Monday through Friday. That's the job they took. They've got family, they've got children, take care, they have their own things. If it was coming from them, like Dr. Townsend said, I don't have a problem. I have a private business, I close at 4 o'clock. I can't go to my doctors at 5 o'clock at night. They don't stay open, they don't care if I'm sick. And I know a number of businesses, I'm the same way. You want to reach me at 4 o'clock, if you have my cell, great, but, you know, I'm more sympathetic to the people that are employed. If there's something that they were coming to and said, well, every other town's got Friday off, we want to have Fridays off. But I deal with it every week when Friday rolls around and I've got a new car or a trailer or a motorcycle, it's a nice day and I need to register, and I'm sorry, your town office is closed.
You can do that online, though.
Not a new registration.
Because some residents don't have access to computers.
Fair.
The older ones. I'm not saying close the town office one day, still open 5 days a week, it's just extending hours.
I do what you've done for the last 50 years. You go on your lunch break, you ask your boss to leave a
What's
little bit early.
Tim, or anybody, what would the staff footprint be? I mean, for safety reasons, are we talking the entire staff, a minimum 3 or 4 people? I mean,
Just the front,
There's two women, well, three with, so there's 3 people that are at the window, right, Michelle? If we count Yana?
Well, lots of us can cover the counter, but yeah, there's three individuals in that area. Plus, there's the code enforcement officer, the town clerk, the tax collector treasurer, myself, and the
not talking
administrative
about the code
assistant.
enforcement officer or any other work, it's the front.
well, it says town office.
That is part of the town office, the front.
So is it just
So are we
the
talking the
front
town
desk,
office
right,
or the
is it all-
clerks? That, to me, that's drastically different.
Right.
I know as a 34-year veteran of Bath Iron Works, we left from this parking lot at 5 in the morning and didn't get back till 5:30 at night. So I always had to take a day off if I wanted to register a car. So being open Friday isn't gaining me there because I worked Friday too, so if you work out of town and you don't get back until you leave early and come back late, you don't get anything done unless you take a day off, which adds to the cost of registering something. So,
Can we ask the town manager to get with her staff and see if they come up with a plan or what they
I mean,
think?
I'd like to hear it come from them
Yeah.
if there was something they're open to, but
I mean, we're almost negotiating for them, which is a little unfair.
it is, because your fire department, your police, your public works have their own schedule, and we're not asking to change them. So,
Well, because they're union, number one. You can't ask them to change that, but. So Winslow, Pittsfield, Canaan, Sydney, Clinton, Cornville, Waterville, and Albion all stay open later during the week. Benton does not, weirdly. Dr. Townsend said Fridays, some of them are closed, but they also stay open until 6:30 on the days that they're closed. And I get it, a lot of them have families, they can't make it, they don't want to stay. But, I mean, there's other people that really need service after, at least 5:30. The closest one that I saw was 5:30, and that's Pittsfield, that closes that early, other than the ones that close at 4:30, which is Waterville.
Do they open later, Matt?
Yeah, Winslow's open till 6, Pittsfield's open 5:30, Canaan's 6.
and how many of them are closed?
In the morning, do they open later in the day?
Yeah, 12 to 6, 12 to 6. Usually it's right around 9:30 into 10.
How many are closed one day a week?
3. So you got the ones that typically stay open, and what they go 1 hour and a half, they're not going to close on a Friday for an hour and a half. But if they do 6 o'clock 3 days a week, they're going to close on a Friday. They have to.
With all of these positions, was it just registrations that was open, or the whole town office was?
It was just registrations, boats, stuff like that, campers, like
Right. So it's
Ken was
just the
saying.
window.
Yeah, so it's just front window and stuff like that, but, I mean, I don't know if the supervisor has
Regardless,
to
it's
either
going to be a
too.
convenience for some and inconvenience for
Yeah.
other. Like Kenneth said, I mean, I worked in the mill for 13 years.
Yeah.
6 to 6, you stay open until 6, I still can't get there. You're working in Bath, 5:30 to 5:30, you're not getting back in town for 6 o'clock.
No, I mean,
so
it's tough. It's tough for everybody.
You
it's
get out
gonna-
down there at 3:30, but by the time you get back here, it's 20 past
Yeah.
5.
So, I mean, it's really hard for somebody, I mean, even if it's just a half an hour, I mean, that's a big deal. But-
Who makes this decision?
Like you said, I think it's definitely for the office staff to decide. They have daycare, people have kids, they have to be out for daycare, that sort of thing. And I do understand why people look for the after hours as well. Why not maybe talk to your office staff or whatever and let them decide, like, if they're going to be, okay, if you want to do this on Wednesday, we're going to do it. You have Friday, a couple hours off on a Friday. A lot of people will, that's great, if I can have a few hours, but it definitely, I think, has to come from your staff, because it's really not fair to, you signed up for this job, now we're going to switch it, you need to find childcare. That's really difficult, I think, for people. And I do understand both sides of it, but I think it would be the staff's decision, absolutely. Or down the road, make it in the job description, but I don't think just doing that now is real fair to people in the office.
Thank you. Carrie?
Yeah, I echo all of that, so I'm not going to repeat any of it, but I also think the irony's not lost on me that Monday night, one of the biggest things in the contention were the raises that people were getting. These are non-union employees, and the town voted to reduce that part of the budget by $28,000, I believe it was, and their intent, even though it's up to the council to decide where that $28,000 gets cut from within that operational budget, the intent of the town was to be from people's salaries. And now we're going to ask them to change the hours that they were hired to work. I think that is deplorable. I just want to say that. Thank you.
I want to make a comment on the topic, and I hate to because I'll be eating in my own time to talk about PFAS, but I do think, as someone who grew up in an urban, suburban environment where things are 24 hours and, there's like a nightlife type scene, and I'm not advocating for that, I think that there's two things about being open late that really should be mentioned. We keep defaulting to, well, there's no time, you can't get there. No time, you can't get there. Okay, I hear that, it's fine, but we also are acknowledging that the office staff their perspective is as important as anybody's, and that's great that is occurring. But there's other reasons to have evening services available, okay? One of them is that many people they're just on top of their game in the evening. So if they need to process their own personal business at 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, that might be a time that they're organized and they don't forget important paperwork and whatnot. And I know that might seem alien to some people, but that is a reality. I myself, when I lived in a house with some housemates, we used to go grocery shopping at 1 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, because we had the whole store to ourselves, and we were 20-somethings, and we could compare. No one wanted to shop with us at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, trust me. And that brings my second point up, which is efficiency. Okay, it's not necessarily more efficient, even though you're packing everybody into a standardized time frame, to have people at the office window who, it isn't even a great time for them, but on top of that, they're waiting on two people ahead of them. When you add some flexibility into it, now there's people can make better decisions for themselves, which I think probably allows the services to happen more smoothly. So I'm just throwing that out there because I think that there's a different argument to be made than just people can't get there, and I think it puts the ball in the court of this is something that everyone, including possibly the town staff, could benefit from. And if some form of soft benefit could be thought of for them, maybe some kind of vacation days, or I don't know what could be built into there as a token, if nothing else. I think that would be that would be good on us to do because they don't have a union speak.
Thank you, George.
Yep, thank you.
Michelle?
Just one little quick thing, too. It's important to note that a lot of those municipalities that do have late nights, most all of those municipalities and most of the ones around us, their staff work 40-hour week, whether it be in 4 days or 5 days. The town office staff at the town of Fairfield are only hired to work 35. And we only budget for 35. We do not budget our staff for a 40-hour week. That was done as a cost-saving measure many years ago. So it is something to keep in mind because it isn't simple. We have looked at it. So, and for those that do have difficulties getting to the town office, because that's not lost on us, we all have the same issues. We have been able to make arrangements for folks in order to be able to provide those services to them, whether it be before we open or somebody stays late. I know we've even had people come in and meet with somebody on a Saturday before if they absolutely had to and there was no other way. Things can be done through the mail. There's many things that can be done over the phone. We always encourage people to reach out if they're struggling with trying to get to the town office, and we'll figure out a way to get that service for them, always.
Is this something you could ask your staff?
I have. We've had this conversation since this was put on the agenda. It was not lost on them. And it was prior to Monday night's vote. But a lot of our staff do have children, and this would be very, very difficult for them because of childcare needs. Oftentimes, childcares, daycares are not open until 6:30 at night. And what a lot of people don't realize is that while the town office closes at 4:30, people need to remember if you're in the building when we lock the door, they're not leaving until you are taken care of. So sometimes it is 4:45 or it could be 10 minutes of 5 that they get out the door and before they can leave. And we don't budget for that. So there's those implications too that come with that, but it is difficult for them. And we did just hire 2 new employees with specifically an 8:30 to 4:30 meeting. And not everybody works that schedule. I myself am usually there just after 7. Other folks are there at 7. Some people come in at 8. They're there till 4, so that kind of piece. But it was something that was going to be very difficult for them if that's what we decided, so.
Okay.
I did talk to a town manager today at a meeting. One of the suggestions she had was that they actually have it's a small town. They actually were closed on Mondays, because Mondays are a day that not much gets done. So if it's a way to allow hours, but it still doesn't solve the problem at the end of the day, so. But that was a way to be open on the busiest days and maybe open longer and still keep your hours in check.
And this is a town office that was not like a lot of municipalities that those staff did want to go to 4-day work weeks, 10-hour days. We've talked about it for years since that was happening, and it's not been anything that this group of people have ever clamored onto as something that they wanted to do. So, I mean, there are a few here and there, but not as a collective group. And if you come in to get your car registered and you want to ask a question about a building permit, you expect the code enforcement officer to be there when you do that. So it'd be difficult to say, these people have these, that sort of thing, but, yeah.
Could opening by appointment only, once or twice a month, potentially work with maybe them volunteering if they can arrange childcare or they want to leave early on a Friday or whatever? I'm just looking at all options if we could do by appointment only and see how that will go.
So in
if you guys
the
discuss that.
current budget that's just been cut, probably not, because that's going to require overtime, it's going to require call-in or what have you.
Okay.
But it's a reasonable thought.
But it's a good,
I like that.
good thing to think about. And the other thing too is a lot of our services can be done online. No, you can't do a new car, but we have people who come in, they send other people in for them, get the paperwork done, take it home, get it signed, bring it back to us the next day, it's done. I mean, you don't always have to be in front of us to do something. There are ways that we can get those things done for people. We have the drop box. We encourage people to use that all the time. We've had people mail us new registrations. People from Florida register vehicles during the winter when they buy a new car.
I did it from California.
They're not sitting here. There are ways to get it done.
Okay. Item 5, discuss creation, item 4, discuss the expansion of the library handicap parking and playground. Peter?
Yeah, well, that was, since we tore down the property next door, because I know last year we was asked to look at the library, each council go in to see before we vote on both the good house. And yeah, it's not ADA compatible up top or bottom. This is what we were looking at, that's why we got rid of the good house. I'm just wondering too, I know we got plans for it, plans already for years ago to expand the library. What's it gonna take, another 5 years or something to expand it?
Has Alyssa been, I know I've talked with her, and it was just in conversation when they were tearing down the house, and there's an excitement there, even with the workers, even with the patrons excited about the fact that there could be some changes. And has Alyssa talked at all about getting going on future plans?
So we have had a few conversations about that, as always, looking for grants, those sorts of pieces, especially for what could we potentially do for a ramp to get up to the second floor at that library. So what we were hoping to do this summer, because so we asked for very specific things when that building was torn down. It was, it had to be filled in, compacted, and then the material that was put in there. Now that spring is over and hopefully Mother Nature's put things where it wants to, our goal is to have Public Works really take a good look at that site, make sure it's available, even if we're just going to put up a sign that says public parking, right? So that there's some other things that need to be done over there. And then how do we accommodate that handicap accessibility to get that in there? So there are things that we've talked about. There's just no active plan at this point. We're just not there yet.
It's percolating.
It is percolating, so we need to make sure we really assess the site. There's some trees that are going to need to come down, especially if you wanted to link that parking to the back of the parking at the library. But we've gone from winter to street sweeping to spring cleanup to we just need to get together and do that. The timing just hasn't been right yet.
So right now, it's more in the hands of Public Works, and then plans to
And the
be made.
library, and really at this point.
Yeah, okay.
She does a good job on her reports. I'm sure when
She
she's
does.
ready, she'll
Yeah.
She'll let you know.
let us know about it. George?
I've been going to the library since forever. People probably know that. And I am also extremely good friends with Alyssa. And everyone at the library. And the result of that is that if I have an idea, which at the moment I do, I can't really present that to them because that just doesn't work. I don't know how else to say it. They're doing their jobs and they generate what seems to be practical ideas for themselves. But there is a problem with the location. The Good House, removing that is fine, but there was an original vision which predates Alyssa, and that's not possible with the existing ground layout. But I do see a way that a genuine annex, enlargement could go on, but not in a traditional way, and it would require something of a unique idea, and that unique idea I couldn't walk into Alyssa's office and say, hey, you could do this if you did this and this, because she'd think like, well, that's not something I can really pitch myself out to. So what I'm trying to say is I have an idea how this could be.
So, George, this discussion's on handicap parking and playground at the library, so that's...
Well, it would impact the parking. But anyway, okay, so I have general input that could be made. I can't make it the traditional way. I'm just putting in a placeholder for you guys that there might be some vision that I could articulate, which they might love. I don't know, that for comprehensively for that location.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on that one?
No.
Item 5, discuss the creation of the new PFA/Environmental Committee. Dr. T.
So I gave you my proposal a little while ago. I think it still stands. I think this is a committee that being focused on environmental concerns, but the first and foremost would be the PFAS issue for our town. I was actually at a meeting today and like, oh, Fairfield, don't you have all that problems with PFAS? Like, it was great to explain that.
Oh, yeah.
And say, well, it's not the whole town, or these are things that we're doing. But anyway, so I think it is really important that we continue to keep this issue at the forefront and make sure that we do the right things for the health and safety of our citizens and for the long-term viability of the areas that were contaminated and that may be contaminated with other environmental contaminants going forward. So I think the biggest thing is that we talked about this being a standing committee when we started, because I think it's important. It's a dynamic, fluid situation that needs to be updated on a regular basis. The council needs to hear it, and the town needs to hear it. And we would like to propose, we talked about having every 6 months to a year for having a presentation to the town so that they can at least get updates.
I had just two thoughts. What would be the title of this committee?
So it would be the standing committee to address the ramifications of various environmental contaminants, particularly PFAS.
So, well, that's a long title for this committee.
Yep.
So,
We could wordsmith it if you want to.
yeah.
Michelle, go ahead, please.
I would like to ask that you call it the environmental
Yeah.
committee.
I guess part of that's part of.
Especially if you're going to do it as a
Yeah.
standing committee and it goes into your town council policy.
And I guess the biggest one we thought on that, and I think it's perfectly fine, when you hear environmental, you also talk about what you're doing to preserve trees and green spaces and whatever else. So that's also the environment, where we're actually focused more on contaminant issues.
So you could do PFAS and environmental. So your name of your PFAS committee before was large, right?
Yeah.
The ad hoc committee to address the ramifications, similar to this, but it was very much shortened to the PFAS committee.
Yeah.
Because it was so big to use. So I would recommend you shorten the name of it. It just makes life easier, especially when emails
Yes,
and that sort
exactly.
of stuff. But I don't know as if you necessarily want to call it the PFAS committee, because that's not everything that you're doing. And you don't want to confuse its work with the work that was done by the PFAS committee either. So, but we could play around with it for a little bit.
Because you get some other environmental hazards out there too.
Sure. Yep.
Because
And that's,
now we got solar too, might be a hazard off
Sure.
that. So,
yep, and all
or
those. So I
some
think-
iron or something like that, so.
No, exactly right. So I think that's why we thought as a committee, important to go forward with a standing committee, but also that we should expand our purview a little bit to try to address issues for the town and to keep the citizens informed.
You could even just use.
So this will be policy change that we'll have to adopt.
Yeah.
Can we just make it environmental / PFAS?
Well, I was just
standing
thinking
committee?
environmental hazard committee
Okay.
as opposed to, so it's not, because the committee was,
Right.
PFAS was their top priority,
Right.
but who knows what next week's gonna bring, right? You don't know what you don't know. But we would put this together, it would be just like this, written up like what your building committee is that's in your policy, the safety committee, and put this on as amendment for your town council administrative policy. You've got some other pieces that are gonna be coming your way with that too. So either we get it on your next meeting for the policy amendment, or maybe it's even the meeting after, but we would still get this committee, what's in this document advertised, so that you could
Yeah.
get people to start thinking about it and start applying. Because right now, the deadline on this, I think, is your
6/25?
it's your last meeting in June. So it's a little bit more than a month away for the deadline for applications. But you could certainly change this at
I
your
would-
next meeting.
Yes, I'd like to have other additions, but we also had a very strong committee that I would hope would at least embody or remain together, try to keep a championship team rolling. So try to keep it together.
So can we get the policy amendment ready for next meeting or?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So the other thought I had is under the qualifications. When you're talking strengths in toxicology, ecology, agronomy, and agriculture, why did you choose strengths? Is that, because I'm thinking about a homeowner, all I could think of was Nate Sumner. And,
So, but he has some of that expertise in that area, and I think one of the areas would be saying strength in, rather than a degree in, or a,
Okay, so-
a certification.
so
or something.
strength could also mean experience.
Yes, in my mind.
Okay.
And that's why I like the idea of strength rather than a certain degree.
You might get a farmer that has agriculture
Yeah, yeah.
without a degree, so.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to
Oh,
clarify
yeah,
that.
yeah, good
so-
question.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay.
So we shall rename it. I think, it's valid. I want to make, I guess when I was talking about it now, I want to make sure that everyone understood that it had more breadth to it than just PFAS.
Any other questions? Okay, item 6, discuss the annual town budget meeting.
I had reserved time for
For item 5, go ahead, George.
You guys have had some presentation and discussion on PFAS that I had intended to be here for now that we've stopped that work, and I wasn't able to even see what was brought out. And as Dr. Townsend knows, as well as anyone else who served, I'm a little bit of a unicorn on that committee. Not necessarily because I've kind of been like the bulwark of we're not going to raise taxes and municipal water, although I have had to do that, not just for that, but because I bring coincidentally, I chose this location with my children in Fairfield, Maine, to get away from these very materials, not like materials, but the actual materials that were incinerated locally and spread there. And so I have been doing my own personal research on PFAS substances before they even had that name, literally dating back to when I was, 20 years old. And so that's probably why Dr. Townsend is saying, like, we want to represent strengths, not just someone who came out of, a training in Augusta and they got, a certificate that, but because I haven't been kind of playing part of the process thus far, I want to, this is another placeholder I just want to put out there. At some point, I do want to address the council as it is, to bring out some, a few, not many, but a few major facts, and it's important to understand we're talking about facts that are obscured or that are buried under the media and the push behind that we've all been grappling with. Having some of that will help to distill some of the situation for people, so that much of what you don't, seems just coming out there. You don't know what is in the ground, what is going, to be able to kind of sort that out in a practical way. So I'd like to suggest that at some point I can either, not necessarily make a formal presentation, but just bring some information about PFAS specifically that I think will help to clear some minds generally. I am so thankful that we had, an animal professional who was leading the group, because he even if he wanted to, he can't escape his own practical knowledge of contaminants and how they affect organisms, which pretty much everybody else can and does. But Dr. Townsend he does that every single day. It's not, his brain cannot function in a.
George, are you opposed to the creation of this new standing committee? I mean, that's what we're discussing.
I am not opposed whatsoever to a committee on the basis of everything that's been presented. The only thing that I am actually opposed to, and I think that's already so much positive momentum has been generated that this might be in vain. But the only thing that I feel I need to be opposed to is the aspect of making it a standing committee specifically. And the reason that I say that goes back to the municipal water situation or issue, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, issue is too strong of a word, but in that, while we had a very robust and intensive set of meetings, nevertheless, when PFAS first started, especially as it affected this town, there was almost panic, and the town is in a phase where myself and Dr. Townsend and possibly Kevin, some people are totally down to do this work. But there aren't many other people that they just I don't know how to say this.
Well, that's why we have the creation of the new committee. We don't know what we're going to get for applicants.
Yes.
I see this as a continuation of what you already started. The work that you did was invaluable. It's important for us to change our policy to make sure it's a standing committee, so this can continue on, not only for PFAS, but for other environmental purposes.
I need to be more concise. Well, the reason I think it needs to not be a standing committee is that the municipal water issue specifically is one in which, if people continue to fall away, just a few core people involved could finally push that through. And the example I'll give you is if a vote was held right now on municipal water with these 5 individuals, it would pass tonight. So 2 years from now,
that's speculation.
Okay,
yeah,
but informed. If 2 years from now, if we have become involved with heavy metals and whatnot, and we're making progress, that doesn't mean that issue has gone away, and it only takes a minority of people to make a decision for a town.
But that information is changing daily, George, just like we discussed earlier. The parts per trillion may change from 8 to 4, which changes the whole dynamic of the number of people involved. As the state gets involved, the federal government gets involved. That's why it's important to have these standing committees to continue the forefront that first committee already started and wrap in even more. So
Well,
I would like to hear what your opposition is
I can't.
to having this standing committee.
We don't. I would address that. That's a valid position. But the things that I told you that I would present to you as facts undo your concerns about, for instance, changing from 8 parts per trillion to 4 parts. These things that seem to be coming at us don't have the gravity that they appear to you or everyone to have at this moment.
But that's legality. That's what we have to deal with as a council.
So, and the other thing, George, and I really appreciated your membership on the committee and bringing a lot of different viewpoints. But the fact is, this is also talking about other contaminants that we may be dealing with in the future. So this is like, that's where the standing committee is.
That could turn out to be prophetic.
Right, so that's why we have it, right? So I think that's the reason you asked that we, would have other toxins, other contaminants that may be discovered in the future being part of this. I think that's a valid point, and that's why I think it should be a standing committee. And there are just so many changes, again, focus on PFAS, but there's so many changes that will happen over the next 10 years that I think we need to have it continue forward.
Well, I am.
This committee would be a valuable resource for the council because it's way beyond my knowledge, and I have to rely on the experts that will apply, just like we did before. The reports you did were outstanding, but again, it's ever-changing. It's going to continue to change. But when bigger towns like Brunswick got involved, that's when you got all these new bills and proposals.
That's exactly why.
And the federal government's going to get involved even more. It boils down to money. At the bottom line, it boils down to money, and we have to keep it on the forefront. And if we don't have a standing committee, it's not going to be on the forefront. So I think we're all in favor of it. I'm going to turn it back over to Michelle. She's got a question, and I'll let you continue, George.
Yes.
The only question I had, just while we were thinking about things, is George triggered a memory. The committee had discussed about whether or not these terms would be staggered. And I wanted to ask that because this is a group that it would be really nice to know that you wouldn't just automatically just annually replace all of its members.
Sure.
So if you did 3-year staggered terms, we can design the ramp up for that so that start, so you're going to have a 1 year, so many 2 years, so many 3 years, and then that would just be something that would be up.
So we term it like our budget committee.
Yeah,
Right.
economic committee is
that kind of thing. And then that way,
that makes
the mission of this committee doesn't get lost because all of its members go away in any one particular year and all the work that is done.
Good call.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
So
Does that address some of your concern, George, if we staggered the term of the committee?
I don't think I'm expressing myself accurately.
It sounds like you would like to talk about concerns you had about our final report at some point. That's what it sounded like. So I don't know how you do that other than 3-minute public comments or coming to the presentation or that, but we'll have those, and I'm sure what the council will find out. Is that what you're proposing?
No, I'm trying to bring some enlightenment, especially to the councilors that weren't part of our meetings. That enlightenment being that as strong as the reports were, and as focused as we all are right now, the involvement of the committee and as well as of the townsfolk for anything outside of PFAS. So, for instance, could there be heavy metals or whatnot? That's almost non-existent. It's a nice idea to think that 10 people are going to show up and we're going to talk about this soil and whatnot, but they honestly don't care that much. Part of it is it's a post media sensation thing, but the other part of it is that it's just not stuff that they care that much.
We have hundreds of people affected. I don't think that's a fair statement to say that they're not concerned. And
that's why I'm telling you, because it's counter to what you would think.
And if they lower the parts per trillion, and you're talking city water, you're affecting half the town.
Because you got 2 councilors affected by this.
And on that PFAS committee with you. I mean, we have to be able to rely on the committee. Those reports have been done and given. We're trying to extend this. This is what this discussion is about, to keep it on the forefront as a standing committee. So
we discussed at the committee as well, having a biannual meeting every 6 months to discuss these things. And I think that would fall on the committee to not only provide that information, George, that you're talking about, and we discussed that, but also use that as a recruiting tool, because people are going to want to know, okay? If there's plenty of people out there, I think once they saw the work that we did, are going to want to be involved. And I certainly hope that you still want to be involved, even though, you know, we had our discussions.
I certainly, of course I want to, but when I think about a new person moving in next door to me or you, and what their needs are for water, I feel I could personally help them much better by just visiting them and saying, here's what you need to know about what's going on, and here's what things you can do right now. And
George, can I ask you a very simple question? Do you feel that the work of the committee was complete?
I feel that the outline of the committee or the goal of the committee is not a goal related to the water
Do you
quality.
feel that there's still work to be done?
Well, I do, on behalf of Dr. Townsend, I do feel there's work to be done, but I don't feel that there is the desire unless you guys themselves want to come to the meetings. I don't think you could, if I tell someone, I came up from New York because I want water.
Then we as a council and townspeople need to change that narrative, that it is important and people need to be involved. That's on all of us.
And I think we've already done, I think that Dr. Townsend has caught all of that. I think that if we did that for a year, or did that for 2 years, and then revisited it again here just like now, I think that would be good. But I think to just leave it there as something that 3 or 4 years from now, I just have a concern about that, only related to the municipal water issue and water quality in general for that area.
Take the water issue completely out of it, and let's talk about
Then yes.
PFAS. Thank you.
If we take the water quality issue out, that should always have been an area of concern for us.
That's up to the committee to discuss. So the members of that committee, if they bring the recommendations to the town council, as we discussed, we have to take what you provide to us. If you're part and you're a voice of that committee, and we discuss it needs to be a standing committee so that continues, those discussions, your voices continue to be heard. You might decide, George, do you want to be on that committee for 10 years?
I don't. I so totally appreciate what is being fleshed out here. What I don't seem to be able to convince you is that this is not the 1980s or the 1990s. We can't make calls to like the cooperative extension and unity, and all of a sudden you have a grass. All of that is gone. People are worried about their taxes and they're worried about.
George, I'm going to cut you off. Michelle's got a question.
So George, if you have some things that you want to bring to the town council's attention, I would encourage you to write that up, and we'll make sure they get that. And if they would like for you to come in and do a
If you guys don't mind, this is not appropriate. I'm here to, just as I can't directly address the town manager for any other purposes, I'm here addressing the council.
And you've addressed it and beat it to death on
and
this
I want
one
to try to
right
convince you that as excellent as it is, and it is, and as committed as I am to getting to the bottom of
So I'm
the impact.
going to ask you to please, whatever you would like to present to the council, please put it in writing, send it to my email. I will present it to the council, and if we want you to come and do a presentation, if that's what you choose to do.
Okay, I'll do that too.
Then that's the route I'd like to go with it, because it's not germane to the new committee.
All of this was just for me to express that I don't think that an ongoing committee is necessary, that a 1 or 2 year I think is more appropriate.
Point taken. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Item 6, to discuss the annual town budget meeting.
So this is always on here after the town meeting, so that if there is anything that you need to address, the cuts that were made to Article 3 are being looked at, and how we can make that all work for the coming year. And that eventually will come back to council once we get that worked through. But your turnout was 100 and, what did I say earlier, 134 residents, so that is really good. The more people involved, there's always the better. So that people, and if you did have your 4,000 registered voters show up, I don't know where you would put them. But it has been discussed in the past about the secret ballot process and all of those things, but this is how we do it now for town meeting, and it was good. So, but the changes to Article 3 are being worked on, and we'll get that to you so you can go over that.
I'm I'm confused on what we did on Article 3.
$28,000 out of that.
It was amended to lower the amount of that article by $28,000. That was what was voted on.
Right.
In a nutshell.
And what was the percentage of the final budget gone up? Because I know it was 23.5 at first with the addition of the 3 firefighters. If it's subtracted, it was 3.5.
So, originally, if all articles had passed, it was going to be a 23.66% increase at $538,763. The increase ended up being $499,763, which was a 21.95% increase, which is still going to be probably at least $1 million.
Yep.
But it will be a while before we know what the exact increase is going to be, so.
You'll have a rough idea with the school, but we won't know until that's voted through.
Right. So the other pieces of all of this is you have to remember is that while we know that assessments aren't changing above the 85% this year because we certified that number for 2 years, what is happening is that new construction that has happened within the last year is still being, what was in place on April 1st. That has to still be updated in the system. Even with the reval pieces, that most all of the quarter that they did the reval for, there are garages that they found, or maybe there's basements that were finished, or people have put in mother-in-law apartments, or those sorts of things. All of that field work still has to be put into the computer, as well as updating all of the business personal property and all of those things. So usually that work isn't actually completed till commitment time. So it's end of July, it's August, that kind of time frame. The solar projects have to be assessed based upon their income pieces and all of that. So that's when we will know the exact. So when I tell you that it looks like it's about a mill rate, I would tell you that based upon the snapshot of the information I have right then and there at that point in time. So what I have for municipal value in the computer right now today. I suspect that that is going to be different by the time
August rolls around.
I'm not expecting that it's going to be a lot different, but sometimes things, I always like to point out to the fact of the code enforcement officer's report that's in the town report. We started several years ago. We always list how many permits we did, but then, everybody could say that they did a building permit for a deck, right? Or we did 10 deck permits. But all of these things add value to our community. So in the 23-24 year, we added there was estimated more than $9 million worth of construction that happened in this community. So that's a lot of investment by not only our residents, but also business owners in the town of Fairfield. That's a good sum of money in a 1 year time. So it's just one of those things to keep in mind. Doesn't mean it always translates into building value, but it's good pieces, so.
Okay.
Can I ask what that number was the year prior?
The year prior for
the building permits and reinvestment?
Yeah, I don't have an old town report in front of me, but I can tell you if you wait 1 second.
Just wondering if that was an increase, decrease?
I think it's probably about the same. It might be a little bit more. And sometimes that's just because, the cost of construction, right? Most of the time when you fill out a building permit, you have an estimated value on most of them.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. Town clerk. Town meeting, town report. 24.
While Michelle looks for that, in the interest of time, I just want to make a point of clarification. So Kevin has the booklet there, and in the back is where Article 3 gives you all the line items of where that total proposal came from. And where it was voted down to be $28,000 less for the total of Article 3, Michelle will go back to try to figure within all of those individual line items of Article 3 where to come up with that cut, and then propose it to the council, and you all would approve that, where that $28,000 cut comes from? Is that how the process works?
That's how we're going to do it, yep.
Okay, thank you.
So for the answer to your question, in July 1, 2022 and June 30, 2023, the combined total estimated cost of construction for 112 building permits was $12,876,369. So it did drop. And we got really busy during COVID, right? So everybody built during COVID. But yep, so it is down. So the way that process works is, I was thinking about that, the process that, to address Carrie's question, as to whether or not any changes need to go back to the Budget Committee. I do not believe that they do, because the Budget Committee already approved a higher amount. So basically, really what we're doing is we're just letting you know where those things are going. It's important for folks to remember, we always put it in the town report, we always mention it at town meeting. The town of Fairfield doesn't line item appropriate, and we use those lines for our ability to be able to create a valid budget that is defendable and justifiable. So that's where that's at.
Any other comments from the council? I just want to bring up the moderator.
Sure.
Could have done a much better job containing and controlling our crowd. We need to address that for next.
I think Mr. Mills is experienced and has served his time well, and I appreciate all the work he has done, but we may want to look at a different solution next year.
I agree.
So
I agree.
I think that caused some of the issues because there was confusion. And I think once there's confusion, that cranks up the emotional level.
Especially when he left his podium and started going in front of the council and directed. He should have stayed right at the podium. I sense he got a little angry.
And we've had a couple. I think there's a couple sources out there that I think can do a nice job. So I think we'll be in good shape. I think that's that.
Voted on by the people. You said sources.
It'll be next year. So we'll talk about we'll have some people
That's a
that.
direct question.
I'm talking about council business right now and other things that we talked about.
I couldn't hear what was.
So there'll probably be another moderator next year.
Okay, I just didn't hear what you
That's right.
said.
There'll just be another moderator next year.
Yeah, but that's something we need to address. That's why I want to bring it up. The only other thing I want to do is that, I've always said if I make mistakes or I've done something wrong, I will own it. I'll apologize. When you're there and you're speaking, our job was to provide information to the best of our knowledge. I think we all tried to give the best information to our knowledge. At some point, I corrected what I felt was misinformation. It wasn't directed to belittle or degrade the vote or the will of the people. So if people did take offense to that, I completely apologize. And we'll try to do better to conduct myself so that it doesn't come across that way. So.
I don't think you needed to apologize, but I appreciate that, Tim.
Yeah.
But there's always
I've gotten some comments.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I
And
wanna-
there's always Monday morning, in this case, Tuesday morning quarterbacking, and you look at yourself and what you could do differently. So I have that little introspection. I think that's very empowering to say that. So that's good.
I want to thank our staff because our clerk was out. It was new. A lot of people were new, different, nervous. Even last night, Sam had come bail us out at the school board meeting to verify our voters. So utmost respect and thank you to our staff for the time that they put in.
What happened last night when I walked in, I got approached by the Roberta and the moderator saying, "Where's the town clerk?" Where residents sit off to the side. Councilor Martin came in right behind me. We discussed it, trying to get hold, saying, "Look at our phones, trying to get a hold of the town manager." He went outside. I just took the ball. I jumped behind the table. They gave me a piece of paper. I started writing down until Sam got there. So
Well, we had them, we didn't do that. We had them sign in their names.
Right,
Sam-
yeah, right.
We went and sat down, Sam verified
And
them.
the moderator did come and
Michelle
says,
got somebody there
It
within.
didn't go according to plan, but it got corrected.
They were there within 15 minutes, and it was much appreciated,
yeah,
so,
they started on time.
yeah. So, and again, we've got a lot of changes, we've got maternity leave, and I want to congratulate Brittany, too. I don't know if I'm supposed to do that, but congratulations to our clerk on the birth of a new baby.
Always
That's
good.
always exciting.
I'm sure she's sitting at home giggling right now.
She can be
Mom
mad
and baby
at
are
me.
fine. Doing great.
Any more discussion on the town
I just
meeting?
want to thank all the residents that did show up. That was amazing to see everyone there. So I want to thank everyone who showed up.
I just want to throw out there, in listening to some people talking or expressing their feelings on it, is when the time comes next year, we address our voting system and how we go about doing that. I think we need to take a look at that.
As we go on, I'm going to ask for the Charter Commission to meet. 134 or whatever people was fantastic. Even the school budget will probably have 500. I think town meeting in our form, although historic or it's archaic in my opinion, I'm not speaking on behalf of the council, my opinion, it's archaic. I'd love the commission to get together to change the charter where our warrant acts more like the school board does, and then it goes to referendum vote in June, so that people that can't make it to town meeting on the first Tuesday and Monday in May, or they have to work, they have the opportunity to absentee ballot, or they have the opportunity to vote all day by secret ballot. So I did get several emails today from people that do not like sitting next to the person next to them knowing how they voted. And that's the way our town meeting has worked since the beginning of time. It was designed that way so that folks out in the country could come in town and all vote at once.
Some felt pressured because they had employees behind them, and if they voted wrong, they felt bad or something, and they just felt a little pressure.
It's just not a private vote,
Right.
is the bottom line. But, I mean, the warrant last night was set the same way as yea, nay. It's how it is. We had our own council meeting, then we discussed our warrant. Many people came and asked questions. A lot of the people that were there were not informed to those questions. They either hadn't watched council or, and that's why a lot of the misinformation gets out there. But it's their right to vote, and they voted and did their civic duty, and I thank them for it. I will, again, I'm going to bring it up that I'd like our commission to meet so that we can get Charter Commission set back up and hopefully change our charter to a referendum vote eventually. So hope that addresses some of the concerns of those who want a more private vote. So, any other discussion on the town meeting? No. Other council business? Council Townsend?
So I had three. So one is, actually, today I spent a nice spring day in Augusta at the MMA Municipal Technology Conference for leveraging AI for towns and cities. So I made a lot of connections with some of the Rue Institute, other town managers, just how to use AI and how to set up policies and how to use it safely, but on the for the both the employees behind the scenes, how they can generate reports, how they can make things more efficient and maybe cut costs, and for on the forward-facing part of the town, so dealing with people coming in, how to maybe have better communication and make their lives easier. So I think AI is pretty scary to a lot of people, but it's being used already, and we need to look at leveraging technology going forward and hopefully make us more efficient and also do a better job of communicating and working for the town. So I got a lot of good contacts and some good information. I think it was a day well spent. So I look forward to maybe debriefing with Michelle about that and kind of moving forward. So I think that was a day well spent. So that was one thing I did. The other thing would be what we talked about with town meeting. Some of my earliest recollections as a child were going to the town meeting in Waldoboro with my dad at 6 years of age probably, and always going, and that was the whole process. Great. It's a New England tradition, but now it is, in my opinion, archaic. And I think we need to look at the Charter Commission as well and changing that standard. I want to have more access to everybody here and being a chance to have a chance to vote and being involved, which came down to actually the last one, which is about involvement. And there was one young gentleman, Kyle Bernacci, who spoke at the town meeting and talked about how we should just move everything, and you can see his frustration and want to just move the budget, and that we're just going to move money around. And I spoke to him at that point in the fact that he should stay, he should be involved in each article. That's why we do this, and he does give you a chance to speak to an article, which he then spoke later on during the PAL article, and he spoke about that passionately. So I thought that was a big win to actually have somebody who was there, who was obviously frustrated with the process, kind of bought into the process and had a chance to speak, and I think felt heard. So there are those little wins that you have in a meeting like that. I'm happy that that was able to happen, and we can still do that even this warrant process, to have that you have a voice. So it's nice to see younger people being involved, getting frustrated with the system because it is not what they're used to, and not the fast response that the younger generation is used to, but able to then take time and buy into it and have a chance to express themselves. So I thought that was a win for the town, and the win for having people be involved. So those are my takes.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Councilor Thibodeau.
I'd like to thank Public Works for the fine job that they've done in sweeping the streets, and for the efficiency of spring cleanup. It's always quite an interesting event
Looks like it's going
when
quick.
they're coming down the street. So they've done a wonderful job, and I appreciate it. And I'd also like to welcome Kevin. And I'm done.
Councilor Kitchen.
I was unprepared to have other council business. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Councilor Lawrence.
I want to welcome Kevin to the table with all his knowledge, including the military side of the house. I agree with the charter. We need to change the way the town meetings are held. And also, too, I want to wish all the residents a happy Memorial Day. Just remember what the day is really about. So, that's it.
Okay, and lastly, I want to thank our other two people who submitted for council, Kurt Peace and Kenneth Cook. Thank you very much. I truly hope that we have some committees that you will be a valuable resource to, and continue to want to help and serve our community. So thank you very much for being here and your input. Everybody that spoke tonight, I think we're pretty open, transparent. We didn't stick to a 3-minute limit. It's a long meeting tonight, but I think everybody had a lot of input. It was heard, and we appreciate everybody that shows up. So, our ninth order of business, executive session, we have none. Oh, I'm sorry. The next regular meeting at the Fairfield Town Council will be on Wednesday, May 28, 2025, to be held as a hybrid meeting in the council chambers and via Zoom at 6:30 p.m. At this time, we will recess, so the council can recess and sign all documents.
I'll make a motion to recess.
Second.
Any documents?
So now we just sign our life away.